Hey, everybody, we're live, looks like. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of me building this OS in the browser, this like Windows 10 clone or whatever you want to call it. And if you've liked what I've been doing in these streams, then please subscribe if you aren't. You get the latest stuff. I make other videos on other things, tech related, development, software development related, not personal development. I don't know if I could speak to that. Yeah, feel free to send a message in the chat. This is live stream, and feel free to leave a comment after the fact if you just whatever you want to leave a comment on what we should do next. If you like what we did this time, I guess we'll see how it goes. If this is your first time watching this stream, then I should probably mention that this is a rebuild project. I've actually done this before, this project, this idea of what have I titled it this time? Building Windows 10 with React is what I've titled this episode, and that's kind of what I've already done once before, and I'll just quickly show you guys here. I go over to my the page, and it looks like it's still up, luckily. My video is blocking the clock here, but this is the basic idea. I think it's zoomed in here a little bit. Maybe we'll zoom out to 100%. Oops, that's 110%. 100%, yeah, so you see that looks a little more like how Windows 10 looks. Although in the video here, I'm not sure if you get the full effect, so we'll zoom back in just so we can read it all. But this is the basic idea. This is what we're hoping on. This cool little wallpaper here, we're gonna hopefully get it working today. If you guys saw the last stream, I kind of had to fight with it at the end, and it came to a funny conclusion on what it was, so it'll be interesting to show you guys. But yeah, it's gonna be this. It's gonna be more Windows 10, I think, this time. This is a little more Mac, this part here. But I got a mix. I mean, I got DOS in here, but on a Mac. That's a functional DOS. I've also got my Doom here. With its cool music. Oh, very loud gunshot sounds there. And I've got my blog on here too, but I've lazied out, and it's just a WordPress iframe right now app. So for the blog, I think I'd like to redo that. Is something I'd like to do in this project as well at a certain point. It'll just be another app. Everything I do that isn't about the OS will be like an app, basically. So just so you guys know that. And I started early, but we've crossed the 9 o'clock barrier, and I didn't re-say hi. So hi for all those people that were exactly on time. If you're watching live, looks like we got just one viewer right now, but the more the merrier. And I'm just gonna keep doing these until people are interested. And I've actually had nothing but good feedback, so I'm having fun doing them. And throughout the week, I kind of try to do what the next video will be a little bit, just to kind of be prepared and stuff. And yeah, I'm hoping to do that more this time as well. So. I mean, I did a little bit this week. I actually might not next week, to be honest, because it's good to kind of just jump in sometimes too, and just for you guys to see me code and struggle a bit. But that's what happened with the wallpaper thing. And actually, just after the stream ended, I fixed it like 20 minutes later because I just kept messing with it, and I probably should have just stuck with the stream really, and I could have shown you guys what I fixed. But we'll get to it this time, anyways. So let's just get into the main little bit here and start with the episode recap of what we did in episode 5. I'll go to the commits here for my redo branch because we're on the redo branch here of the X project. And we'll just peek down here and we can kind of see, and I've written a summary, and I won't go over all of them for you. We do the typical housekeeping, the NPM updates. But yeah, I've added builds to the pipeline when you do a push, just so we can catch a few errors that I kind of missed involving TypeScript that don't always get caught with some of the other linting and that kind of thing. I've added some recommended VS codes to the project now, so if anybody else clones it, it'll kind of give them some suggestions on extensions they might want. Created a GitHub project board as well, which I can show you guys. Where is it here? Projects. XV2. There we go. And I've already got some stuff on the list that I did not look at. I might have done some of these. I think some of these will be on my to-do list for another video, but I didn't really look at them. This isn't where issues go to die, by the way. I just forgot to really deal with any of them recently. And I've got lots of content for you guys today anyways, hopefully, so don't worry about that. What else did I do? Tons of refactoring. A lot of these are just like moving things around. I've got a lot of that this episode too. I've noticed now that there's definitely this theme of refactoring in my episodes, and maybe there's something interesting about that, and maybe that's what happens in these projects, side projects where you're streaming everything, is you get to see all the refactors, and it's not just like, oh, since last episode I changed a million things. It's like, no, we're gonna go through all the changes together. So you're gonna see the ups and the downs of you're gonna see things that I'm gonna write, and then the next episode I'm gonna delete them probably. But it's good to see the process, perhaps, and we're learning together anyways. I created the desktop component as well. Where is that? I created it somewhere here, right near the end, actually. Yeah, it was supposed to be the wallpaper as well, and that's like I told you guys how it ended up being an attempt. And we'll get into that. We won't get into it right away. I'll leave you guys hanging, but after we do the refactoring, we're going to re-implement the wallpaper with some new additions and some new cool ideas I think I've figured out for where its settings can live and how we can connect it to the theme. But we'll leave that as a teaser for after the refactors. So, and that's it basically for the summary. Yeah, I mean, I was fighting with that wallpaper for a good chunk of the last quarter of the episode, I guess, and to the point where we didn't get into the taskbar. So I'm definitely hoping we're going to get into it today. If not, at least mocking it up. I think it's actually fun to mock up the React components sometimes especially when you have something structured to go off of, like the taskbar that's got the start button, the entries, the clock, system tray I'm not going to put in there yet, but maybe I should, I mean, I don't have anything to put there yet, so we won't, but we will do like the clock and stuff. The system tray, we'll get there. It's going to be, the taskbar is going to be set up in a way where slipping the system tray in will be basically seamless, pretty painless. Maybe a CSS change or two. So let's get right into it here, into the code. And get into our usual. This time for maintenance and housekeeping, I have a lot less to do. The code was somewhat clean. Actually, if you look at those commits that I just showed you on the previous page, I'll slip to them really quick. You'll see these little X's here. I actually let a build error slip in, and I can show you which it is. I'll end up fixing it here right at the top. But yeah, it's almost I guess fix the build error here. Fix build error. That's housekeeping, but it's going to fall into our refactors here. Essentially, I just broke the test. I made it so that the styled app requires theme. I don't know why I did that, I think last episode I was really into like, let's make more environmental variables. Let's pull variables. Let's make our components more like dynamic or something. I don't know. I started like doing a bunch of prop passing for no reason. So we're going to not do that. It's like if someone wants to take one of these components and use it in their own project, it's not, there's going to be some changes to do anyways, I'm not trying to make this into some kind of bunch of little repos where people can, I want to use the taskbar on my web page. Well, figure it out, I mean, you've seen everything where I built it, so you can take the taskbar, remove a couple things, that's what it's going to be. I'm not going to go so generic that we just add a bunch of code, and the goal is going to be to remove code. It's actually funny. I don't know if you saw recently, there was an Elon Musk interview where some like engineer guy interviewed him just a couple days ago, and he got into talking about the OpenAI stuff, and he was like, how many lines of code is that? And Elon Musk was good to correct him as a good programmer should, and was like, well, lines of code isn't really an achievement, and he was like, you get 2 points for removing a line of code and 1 point for adding a line of code, was what he said. And I thought that was really nice, and now I have Elon's blessing to remove some lines of code and get some points, I guess, whatever the point system is they're using there. So we're going to do that anyways. Long story long, as I like to say. So let's get into the maintenance. We're in the code. NPM updates, that's where we want to begin. That's where we always begin. So that's where we're going to begin. I like to do updated just to make sure, just to check what I'm getting. And sometimes tricky too is if you do NPM update, I think, like if it's a major version or something, or it's not in your rules, it won't update, but there could be an update. And that's where you have to make the decision, do you want to jump to a major update? But if you don't do outdated, I'm not even sure if it tells you, to be honest. I don't know if we have any good examples here today. There's no major updates, so it looks like mostly minor ones, pretty unimportant ones, but let's just get them in, right? I like to keep everything up to date, and it's good to do these too, because if you wait a long time before you do a bunch of updates, there's almost more like, it's more likely for there to be a breaking change or something. So the more you keep your libraries and stuff up to date, the less likely, or the easier it is when you do go to update, basically. So it did some updates. Does NPM audit still exist? I don't know if you guys remember NPM audit. It's supposed to, yeah, okay. I guess, oh yeah, it's right there. Found 0 vulnerabilities. In my old library, it always had a vulnerability, so I'm so used to seeing it run NPM audit. The idea of NPM audit is supposed to be like a security report to check the NPM libraries, but stuff slips in anyways. It's definitely not something that should make you feel warm and fuzzy like you got something secure. I wouldn't, So we did the NPM updates. Let's remember to commit them. NPM updates. We do all our commits live here. So that's done. So let's get right into this fix build error, because I actually have to refactor a bunch to make some of this work, in that I have to remove, I shouldn't move the variables out of the components for like, what are the components I'm talking about here? So the styled app, right, I have it so that you can pass the current theme, but I don't think we're gonna do that, to be honest. We're gonna have there be the default theme when it loads. It's gonna be like what the default theme is, and people are gonna be able to change the theme. So I don't see the point in passing, like, where was this being passed? This was in like the index page, I think. No, it was an app here. Yeah. So it was like, the user is not here. There's nothing. I mean, I guess the session provider's here, but yeah, there's no session consumer. So it's like, who was going to change this? So why have this live here? And then it just messed up my test because I'm using the styled app, and then now the styled app has no default. Like, what? Why was that smart? So, so I'm gonna also open here in another window secretly. I won't do it secretly. I'll show you guys what I'm doing, just so you know. As I've done in the past sometimes, I do everything in front of you guys, but I might have baked a cake beforehand just to make sure the cake works, you know, that kind of thing. So I've got my commits here where I've kind of done a little bit of that stuff, and I might have to peek at them from time to time. But if I copy and paste anything in, it's definitely going to be explained, you know. And for the most part, I'm just going to stick to finding things from the docs, and there's definitely not going to be any code where you're like, whoa, where'd that come from? You know, it's all going to make sense. So hopefully. So what's the first piece I wanted to do? Embed default props in page components. Yeah. So I basically just want to not do what I did here. Let's just start by removing this here. So there won't be the default there. And same with the meta one. That was another one that I removed, and it's like, again, who's changing this? Nobody. So now I can take this piece here, and that goes where in the metadata? Yeah, that's gonna go here, and we're actually gonna clean up the code a lot, and then we're not even gonna worry about props then, you know. It just makes it easier because it's like we don't need metadata props, so that's like a whole file we can get rid of, a whole line here. We don't need the props here, and then instead of title, we'll just pass the name directly, and it's gonna want to sort this as always, and there we go. So doesn't that, I mean, that looks cleaner anyways. And like I said, we can get rid of that metadata type as well, which is right here. Like so, that's gone. So that one's just cleaner, and now this works. And now same with styled app. We'll take this, clean these up here. And if we go into styled app, which is nice, we can do by the right clicking. And this is another thing that's nice when you have everything set up right in a project, because I've gone into a lot of projects at my work and stuff like that, where if you right click something and say go to definition, that's not going to work on a JavaScript project a lot of times, because things just aren't set up correctly. The imports aren't right, or it's using require.js in a weird way, and VS Code just can't figure it out. And there's always a way to fix it too, but it's like, it's going to take just too long for us to put resources into it. So not to sound bitter or nothing. So let's paste this in here. And then themes. So where does this make sense to have? My thinking on this was that this goes into another part, and it's kind of like a spoiler alert, is that it doesn't make sense, I think. Like right now, it's passing literally the theme itself into the session. So that when I go to save the session, which I haven't done yet, I would be saving the entire theme, like the object itself. And I don't think that's necessary, because the themes have names anyways. This one's called default. So the session consumer should just focus on the name, is my thinking. And on that note, so let's get rid of this current theme. We're not passing current theme anymore. And that also means we can get rid of the styled props, because children is part of a normal functional component. So we'll delete that file in a second. But so you see here for theme can be undefined currently, obviously, because yeah, currently we have it to be allowed to be undefined. I'm going to change that later too, because now that it's just going to be a string that says default, I'm going to have an empty string by default. And it's going to be like themes. Actually, let's just start doing it. And on another note too, I don't like it being called theme then, because it's not the theme, it's the name of the theme now. So let's call it theme name, right? That's not crazy. So I want it to be called theme name, and I want to copy it here. So basically, yeah. So now within themes, it's going to be accessing theme name. So if this is, let's say, blank like that, this would just be undefined. So that's where I'd like to do the themes.default here. So we'll try to pass in the name, which we'll have. By default, it's going to be blank, and then this will be undefined, and it'll just default to the default theme. So that to me seems smooth enough. And I guess it goes over the length of the line here, so we'll have to prettier this in a moment. I'll just prettier it right now. That's not hard. There, that's prettier. So yeah, now it's complaining in a few ways. First off, theme name, I just made that up. Let's delete that type now, like I was saying. We can delete this whole folder now. So this was the styled app for current theme. We're not passing current theme anymore, like I said. So that whole, we just deleted a whole folder with 2 files in it, guys. Jeez, that's a lot. And the app works perfectly fine now like that. And the app itself won't work yet because this isn't compiling. So let's get to the next error here. So let's deal with this first, because this rolls into yet another thing where if we're going to load, not load the theme directly, but just by name, then TypeScript's going to complain because it's like, whoa. Element implicitly has an any type because expression of type any can't be used to, that's a terrible error. That's really not so clear. But basically it doesn't know what themes is because themes is just a JSON file. And this gets to what I wanted to tell you guys is that we're no longer using JSON for themes. Dun dun dun. So we're just going to switch it to a TypeScript file because I want to define its type, and maybe in the future this might help with that color thing if we get the right plugin. I think someone suggested a plugin to me. If you guys remember here where I wanted the VS Code to show me the color, when I highlighted over it, and with JSON it wouldn't do that. Well, I don't think with TypeScript it's going to anyways, but it might give us the opportunity to have an extension that can do that. So now that it's a TypeScript file instead of a JSON file, we have to export it. So we'll go export default, and we should define it here as themes. We're going to make it a variable. This is my style of doing it. I don't do export default and then a bunch of the code. I usually just define a variable up top. It makes it easier for me from a types point of view, I find. So we'll say themes, and it's going to be the themes type. Like I said, we have to define its type. And what I was thinking here too, so first we could just put this in like that. So that's there. And then we can get rid of all that. So that's the basics. And then, yeah, it doesn't know about theme. Type theme equals, and what did we decide this is? This is a string here for default. The key is a string, and what is it? It's the default theme, right? That's something you remember, guys, in the styled components, we're overriding the default theme here with this fancy trick that we learned that styled components suggest we do. So we can just do that, and we can fix that it's not imported as a type there. And there we go. So this is pretty nice like this, but I would like to go one more step further actually, and to just extract this so that themes is just a list of the themes, because I think that'll be easier down the road if we want to import one in. Like, let's say we have one that's imported and it's like, what would it be, like cool theme or something? I don't know. I don't like the look of it anyways. Or would it be like that, I guess? It doesn't look too terrible, but I'd like them all to be variables then, you know? So in that same way, we'll have default be a variable, but it will be in here. And this brings us to our next little gotcha here, is the default can't be a variable, that name. Oh, especially when you don't even spell const right. There we go, const default. So what is it saying here? Default is not allowed as a variable. There we go. So I think what I'm going to name it is default theme, because that actually also fits pretty good with the type, you know, which is called default theme, which is it's just perfect. So then we'll take this and we'll just pass in the variable. So I prefer that cleanliness. So it's like your themes here, your declaration and kind of gathering of the themes is there, and then you just toss it, you export it out, you know. So we've done a type here, so we're going to have to put this in a folder because that's our style. Every type goes in a folder. So in our types, this is in the styles folder. So we'll make a types styles folder, and we'll call this themes, because that's the name of the file that's in, themes. And we'll just take our type out of there and we'll put it here. And we have to export it. I'm sure that's what that error is saying. It's saying, hey, export it. Yeah, it suggests exactly what to do. Often the suggestion is exactly what to do. And now we can take the default theme out of there, like so. And it's got like the double quotes that it automatically added because I did the auto import, but when I run Prettier, it'll turn these into single quotes and it'll standardize everything for us. So that's a cool feature with Prettier. So it wants me to import this now, like so. I'll just type right there, save us a second of the auto thing. So there we go. So there's our themes now. Pretty much the same thing as JSON, but now we have this declared types of what themes is, and we've also extracted out the default to be called default theme and put it in its own little variable. And at this point, we could actually, I guess this could be JSON maybe, but it actually can't be when we get into talking about the wallpaper, because for the wallpaper we're going to need some dynamicness. So we're going to have to pull in some imports and stuff, which you can't do in JSON. So now that we're in TypeScript and not in JSON anymore, we don't need these quotes around our keys. So let's just clean this up. There we go. That's a bit cleaner. I like that better. And like I say, the double quotes will be fixed by Prettier in a little bit. So what have we done? So we've made it, there we go. So now you see this isn't complaining anymore. So now it knows this is correct, that themes is an object of string keys that have default theme styled themes in them. So it understands this now, and it fits perfectly there. So those are good. That's good there. That's good there. Very simple. This was the metadata one. This is going to be a big commit now, unfortunately, but that's okay. It's all kind of related in that we're, what did I call it here? Embed default props and page components, and it just kind of required some other stuff, unfortunately. It required this theme extraction for it to be done right. So let's deal with this next issue now that we're refactoring. So it's saying the session context state doesn't have theme name, or what was it saying there? Let's just go to the session context state and see what it has. Right, so it has theme, of course, not that. So like I said, we're not going to make it optional anymore. So theme name, and it's no longer the theme, because this is the session. So we just want to store the name of it, obviously, which is why it's called theme name. And now we don't need this here, so we simplified that quite a bit. And I think at this point we can also do the setting of the theme name, because now that it's a string, I feel like it's a lot easier for the user to be able to set it. So let's just add the feature to be able to. So this is going to be like a function, basically. Actually, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's not write types for things that don't exist yet, right? Come on, Dustin. That's stupid. So we fixed this. So have we just fixed it as is? Or what's left here? Because, yeah, I don't want to set it if I don't need to, but I feel like there's probably some things that are probably broken now. Let's do a quick, when you're not sure what's broken, but you're sure you broke something, sometimes an NPM run build can be like, dude, this is broken. Yeah, there we go. So which file is this? The contexts, right? I've broke it in the contexts. So if we go into contexts and we go into session, yes. So the initial session context state no longer works the same. Yes, because we've said theme name is no longer optional. So now we should say theme name. There we go. So we set it in our initial session context state. And let's see if that works a little better. Do another build here. And if this build works good, we can fix the... Oh, it's not working. So something else is broken. Yes, this is in the session context. Well, this is where I'm using the session within the context itself. So if we go to our context folder and we go to session, we can see whatever the next problem is. And I'm sure it'll be a doozy. Oh, is this not even it? What was the problem then? You should probably read your errors too. That helps. Oh, this is the wrong file then. It's in the hooks. Right. Because here, this is a cool little pattern that I've kind of been doing, is that the provider value is just is a hook that just goes somewhere else. And we're actually going to see this episode is where I'm kind of proud of what I did. I don't know if it's good or not, or if it's stupid, but I basically made a context factory, kind of. So we're going to take this pattern of how we do provider and how we do consumer and doing the hook here, and we're just going to turn that into something where I can just pass a couple variables and we get contexts. So that's going to make it a little more simple if we decide to do things to like the base context of how contexts work. And it's also going to make it easier because we need more contexts. We need the file system as well. So at some point we'll be making more context, but we'll get to that this episode. We got that going. So that's another one. Stay tuned for. So yeah, let's get, oh no, I was in there. Back to this. If I inspect this is where it's got a problem. Yes. So this is, what is this? This is the hook. It's not really a hook right now because it's not doing anything useful. Let's do it here then. So this has to store the theme name. This is where the theme name stays and lives throughout the session. So what we'll do here, and we're not going to focus on loading the previous session yet. We'll get to that in another day. So right now I'm just straight up returning an object, but we need a function here now. And the function is going to need to use the use state, and it's going to have a theme name, and it's going to have the set theme name, and we're going to use the use state hook. And it imported it in quite nicely. And we've decided that the theme name will be empty by default. There we go. And then we return that exact thing. So we return the theme name because that's all we have right now, right? There we go. So now you see we don't actually need the set command because we're not actually setting it. We don't have the ability to set it. But like I said, I'd like us to add it because why not? We're using useState right now. So let's at least make it part of the session context that can be used. And we can I'll show you using it at another date when we make another wallpaper or something like that. So let's also pass set theme name. And now it's going to complain because we haven't defined that in our types yet. So let's go back into our types and let's do that. Now this is a tricky type. I mean, it's not so tricky if you know that it comes from useState and it's the set command. So it's like a dispatch. So it's a React dispatch. But let's go back to where we defined it and see if TypeScript can help us out. So when we hover over it here, it actually does help us out a lot. And it tells us basically what it is. So let's just copy that because that's correct. And if we paste it in here, we'll see that it works like so. Well, we got to import that. We got to import that. And we need to do the fixing of the type. There we go. So that's correct. So it's a React dispatch command that does a set state action on a string. And the string is the theme name. So right now, that's all we have. Later, we'll probably have other stuff in session. And maybe we might sort this differently. Maybe we might have like theme. And then within here, we have it. Does that make sense? Because then I could do theme and I could have name and set name. But I don't know if I like that, honestly. Let's wait until, like, let's see whatever the next thing we need to add to session is and see if it makes sense at that point to start splitting them out. Or maybe it won't, you know? So we'll see. So we got the set theme name as well. So now what's it complaining about here? Oh, right, because now we need set theme name in our initial context state. And the reason we're doing these initial context states is just so that everything, at any point in the code, if you're going to access context, you're not going to get anything undefined. It's going to work the way you expect. So if you're expecting to be able to get to a function, you could try to run the function. It's not going to return anything useful. And I'll show you right here, set theme name. And this thing is a function, and it's going to return void. Am I allowed to do that? No, undefined. Or is it null? I'm not sure what a dispatch function returns. Let's see if we can go back to where the dispatch function is and see if it says. It doesn't really say what a dispatch function returns. I would assume it'd be undefined. That's sort of typical function that doesn't return anything, I think returns, not null. So what's it say here? Missing return type on function. Oh yeah, okay. But no. Does it? Oh, okay. I know. You know why it's saying this? Because it doesn't know what the initial session context state is. Because I never even put the types here for what these are. So I think I should, because they exist. Like, look, I can literally take the word here and just go toot like that. And that is the name of the type, and I can just import it in. So it existed. And then you see now that it's set, now it knows, oh, okay, this is set theme name, which I know is a dispatch. And I wonder if I do null, it'll be like, hey, that's not what dispatch. No, not particularly, but undefined works. I mean, to figure it out, the way that I always try to guess with JavaScript stuff is I go to the browser and I just open up DevTools. Oh, and it opened out its new window. Let me hook it in here, there. And I just try it out. So with an arrow function like that, so that's the function. Let's say const meow equals. So we got a meow function. And if we go meow and we run it, okay, so it does return undefined. There it is right there. It's not null. I mean, maybe someone's watching this and going like, how could he not know that? He's an idiot. But it's like, that's not something I want to keep in my mind, you know, like who gives a shit, you know? I just looked it up in 2 seconds. So that's the thing where people, it's like, what knowledge do you decide to remember? That's a Richard Feynman thing where he's like the guy that knows the names of all the birds, but doesn't really know anything about birds at all. It's like that sometimes with this stuff. Like, don't you know this returns undefined? It's like, I don't care, you know, I'll look it up. Anyways, rant number 17 complete. So we've saved this, so we got that piece now. So what's next? You know, it's just broken endlessly here, but this is part of it, is like fixing it this way. Is sometimes it's easier than to just try to remember like, oh, I got to change it in 17 places. It's like, I'm just going to keep changing it until it's not broke anymore. And I think that's not what we've got here. What did I break now? What is it? Oh, this is a big error this time. Jeez. Oh, this is a weird one. What happened here, guys? Pre-render. Oh, it's just all gibberished out, talking about a 404 page and stuff. Let's just try running this again. This is like, sometimes this happens, you know, like you just run it again and it works. It might not, but no, same problem. Huh, okay, well, I saw the word ThemeProvider in there. occurred pre-rendering page en. Oh, is this getting into that language stuff? But why is it, where did this come from? Jeez. Just when you think you're out of the forest, right? What have I broken now, guys? I think the stuff I was doing seemed pretty trivial. Let's look through the files I've changed and see if anything's just yelling at me like, you broke me. Well, first things first, let's stop our dev environment and see if, stop and start and see if it works there. And if that's the case, I'm just gonna ignore the build error for the moment. Okay, well, it's more helpful here. ThemeProvider prop is required. So it's got a problem with the theme. That's useful anyways. It's good to have a useful error. I don't know if it said that earlier and I just ignored it, but now I'm choosing to pay attention to it. So what have we missed here? So it was blank there. Let's get into this, let's go to the theme provider then. Where is the theme provider being used? Right here. How come it's not giving me an error then? So it tries here and theme name is blank. And then themes.default, is that, oh, because it's default name now, is it not? Or default theme, right? This is annoying that it didn't tell me that. Why didn't it tell me that? Is that something it can know? I guess it can't necessarily know that. Maybe, yeah, that's dangerous. Maybe I'll have to think of I mean, this is the only scenario where I'm doing this. I know default theme is there, so I guess it's okay that it didn't tell me, but it has no idea what's on in themes, and I'm not sure why. I feel like it should know that. Maybe not. Okay, well, I fixed it anyways. So now if we try npm run build, I bet you guys it'll work. I'm kidding. I don't do bets. Every time I bet is the only time that it doesn't work out. So okay, so that's done. Right, I like it. So what have we done? Let's review. So the goal was, let's close this so we can look at the notes here, the stream notes, and figure out what the goal was. Sometimes you get so far away from the goal. To embed the default props and page components, right? Yeah, I took them out and then I'm putting them back in, basically. So in the end, we made it cleaner because we got rid of stuff like the meta props, the metadata props, any of these props. Like, we don't need more props if we don't need them. I think that's almost the theory of React, is to try to get the variables as close as you need them. And that's like a big part of using context, is like, just put it in the component exactly where you need it and don't go passing it down. But I had some mentality to pass things down to make them more generic, I think, for reuse. I don't know what I was thinking even. That part doesn't make sense. But we'll see here when I get into the theme and the wallpaper, how I've thought of how there can be some reuse there at least, and a little bit of dynamism, as they call it. Oh, did I not post that? Darn it. I was going to post that. There we go. So what are the other changes here, guys? Styled app, very simple. I made it theme name now instead. And we're passing like that, right? Where we check for the theme name. So the user can set something. I mean, we're probably not going to allow the user to just randomly type in a string, but it'll be some kind of simple dropdown that's based on what is in themes. So when we get there, it'll be more simple now. We've increased what session context state's doing. Now it actually has some stuff that it needs to do. And now it's a proper hook too. Now we got use state. So now it makes sense that it's a hook. Before it wasn't really a hook. Yeah, we clean this up. This is cleaner. I like that better. We don't need to be like, oh, why is this passed here? Who cares? Theme, I've made that into JavaScript, TypeScript now. Oh, we got to run prettier. I remember now. Let's run prettier right now. Something annoying with prettier that's probably going to happen is it's going to say a bunch of files changed. I think it's doing that with line endings. Yeah, you see it just says a bunch of files changed now. That's annoying. But when I commit it, it won't say that. So let's continue our review. And it only does this, I think, 1 or 2 times. Prettier thinks everything's changed. So we'll ignore it. The next one that actually changed was this one here, this session, mostly around session, adding theme name, no longer saving the theme in the session, because that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, if we're going to save the session as a file, why would we want an object in there? It's not even going to work, It's not going to work right. We defined what the themes are. That's another nice thing. Whereas the JSON had no real definition. It was just a key, just some objects, basically. Now it's very clear. It's like there's a key and then there's a default theme structure. Again, that's around session, setting the initial stuff. We also defined the types here for session. Maybe we should do the process one too. I mean, it's out of scope a little bit, but it's the exact same thing in that we added type here. It's same here. We have this type as well. So let's just add this one as well. because that's more explicit and it's probably how it should have been. Or do we have a process context type? I'm almost certain we do. It's not auto-completing. It's being stubborn on me. Yeah, there it is. All right, whatever. It's not gonna auto import it in. It's gonna be trouble for me. But let's just copy this and just switch the word process, because that's all it is. I don't know about the alphabeticalness of it. Process. There we go. Oh, okay. I was wrong. Change spelling. Oh, I had the spelling wrong. Oh, what? Why did it suggest I change the spelling? That's weird. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Oh, right. This is another thing I was going to fix. And this is why I didn't auto-suggest, is because I have the spelling wrong here, I think. Or do I? I have the spelling wrong in the initial state. There's not 2 C's in process. Oh, man. I need like a spell check extension, I guess. Well, let's fix that while we're at it, I guess. I mean, this is becoming a bit of a bigger fix, but as long as everybody's following along. So I misspelled this as well, like everything else. See, watch now it'll import. Yeah, see, now it knows where it is. So when you spell things correctly. So where was I using this so I can fix it? I was using this in the process context. That's the only place I spelled it wrong. Here we go. Yeah, there's not 2 C's. All fixed. So we fixed that as well. So that was getting back to what our changes were. Yeah, so we updated the session context, and we also added the types, and I've just done a spell check fix too. And we didn't do anything to that. That's prettier. So we didn't change a lot, really. We just kind of removed those components and then made the theme a little more dynamic, a little better. So let's try to do that in a commit message. Embed default props in pages components. Yeah, I guess they're in a folder called pages. So oh man, this is going to be a big commit. Whatever. I don't like big commit messages, but I've just, all this stuff made sense to do together. So, and store theme name in session context. This isn't a hard limit as far as I know, just for the lines. What else did I do? I did the spelling too. Fix variable spelling. That was another one I wanted to do. And fix variable spelling. Okay. I think I can commit that much. Now I'm going to commit that. And this will also fix the build error, I bet. So I'm going to push that along with those NPM updates. And we're going to check it out in the browser here, because I also wanted to show you that commit. Remember how it showed like 24 files? But that's just prettier being wonky with the line endings or the formatting, or I don't know what it's doing. So if we go into the actual project here and we go to our redo branch where we've just committed our changes. Yeah, so there it is there. And now it's doing a new build. And let's look at the commit just so I can show you guys that it's, yeah, see, it's only 12 files that changed. And we can see here, it was just kind of removing some stuff. What was it here? 50 additions and 35 deletions. How did I add more than I deleted in the end? I felt like I removed more. I guess I added some lines here. I made the theme a little more bulky. Oh yeah, I added the setters and stuff. I mean, that's verbosity for you, verbosity. It's probably not the right word. So let's see how our test is going now. I'll keep you guys posted on this, but I'm sure it's better now because we fixed the issue. We can just peek the test right now in the code. Yeah, there's no more red squiggles here, so we fixed it. So what was next on the refactor docket? We stored the theme. We embedded the props in the components. We're storing the theme name instead of the theme. So GlobalStyle, this is an easy one, and I'm not sure if this is totally necessary, but I feel like it's nicer. Where is it here? It's in my styled app. So the GlobalStyle is outside of the session consumer and the theme provider, more importantly. So basically the GlobalStyle can't access the theme, but I feel like that's a weakness because the GlobalStyle is a styled component, so it should be able to access the theme. It would be weird if you were writing the GlobalStyle as a styled component and you tried to use theme and it just didn't work in that one spot. So we're going to take the GlobalStyle and we're going to put it inside the theme provider before we do the children, which is the rest of the app, basically. And that also lets us get rid of this little fragment code, which is nice. And now everything's wrapped inside the session consumer, basically. So it's got a nice little hug around it. And that was basically it for that one. That's a simple refactor. So yeah, move GlobalStyle into theme. Let's call it that. And I prefer that. Code still seems to be running, I think, there. We still see it hello worlding, as they call it. No one calls it that. So we skipped ahead here with the fixed variable spelling because of I found it. I also wanted to rename one variable area, which I believe was in the startup thing that I made the other day. Yeah, I made this function here, get startup processes. And for the reduce function, I kind of just do this ACC to be like the accumulator, and ID is in reference to the process ID here. But I think we should just be more explicit. Like, we're not saving bytes here, and it's just easier to read. You know, if I were to just copy this little piece of code, then it would at least make sense, probably. I mean, it already half makes sense because it says process directory and then ID. But I like process directory, process ID. Come on. And then what is this? This is the processes, right? Processes. Yeah, that matches that. I gotta be more careful with this spelling. Too many C's and S's for me. Fix these up. There we go. That's just more clear. I mean, there's nothing, it loses its genericness, which I prefer actually. As long as it's not like going overboard with the length of the words or something. So let's just say better variable names. I don't want to go nuts with describing that commit. So this is another interesting one. Add pseudo selectors to GlobalStyle. This is something I noticed in a few of those CSS resets that I forgot to add. I didn't forget to add it necessarily, but I was like kind of humming and hawing about it. But I've been seeing it so much in a few more places. So basically this the pseudo selector would be like the double doubles here. I think from my reading, you can actually, the singles are actually a type of pseudo selector as well. I don't know what the difference is between the double and the pseudo, and then the double semicolons or colons, the double colons and the single. Sorry, before and after. Basically, these two types of elements aren't part of that wildcard. Is essentially the trick. So I think maybe when I first wrote it, I thought wildcard, that's everything, you know? And then after a little bit of digging, it's like, well, these pseudo selectors here are not part of it. And we're not even using any pseudo selector before after stuff, but it's possible some of our libraries might. And I want anything inside our little OS to have these same global CSS reset rules for now. Because it's just easier. Everything I want to be explicit. So this kind of resets it and gets us on a level playing field for some of the aspects. Not from a browser point of view, which is more what the CSS reset normalize does in some ways, is it not only kind of clears what the defaults are. I got a typo. Oh yeah? Where? Maybe I see just Daniel. Thank you, by the way, Daniel, for mentioning it. I don't know if it's the typo that I noticed after the fact or before, but yes, there was a typo before. I'm sure there could be many typos. I wouldn't be surprised if there were more. Also, thanks for tuning in, by the way. Yeah, the process spelling. Yeah, that was a tricky one. I think I've had like 3 or 4 problems spelling process already in these streams. It's not a hard word necessarily, but I guess it's easy to do 2 C's instead of 2 S's, or 2 C's and 2 S's in my case. So yeah, there's our pseudo. Just adding a little bit more rules there. This isn't going to be relevant for now, but it's good to have. I feel just to. You know, if a before or an after element appears, then we wouldn't want it to have a border or nothing. We got a joke here. I can tell Daniel's got a joke coming because he did that. You might say ... You can't process the spelling. Oh, nice. I need are you supposed to have the glasses for that? I think that's what that was, like the glasses one from that TV show that NCIS, is that the show? Or yeah, CSI. It's one of those. Okay, we've changed the global style. Add pseudo selectors to GlobalStyle. Done. And that one's out of the park. Okay, what's the next on the docket here? Use theme color for background. Yes, this is just, let's just use the theme whenever we can, right guys? So I think I made a styled component here for the styled desktop, and look at this. This is the primary color, you know? Why not just use that? And I'm lazy, so I'm going to copy it from here because I'm already using it here for the text. So we'll also make it the same, the primary color for now. This at some point might be called the background color or something. I mean, we're going to do the wallpaper right now, so I'm not going to worry about that. But we probably could have a background color. Maybe we should, actually. Yeah, let's do that, actually. Background color. And that's going to be part of our theme. I think that makes sense because it's the primary color is I don't know if primary color fits as the background color. That's like the background color is for one thing, whereas lots of things could be the primary color. So let's put that, I guess let's stick to the alphabetical idea here. It's also going to be black though. So let's just copy what the primary color is for now, but it's not linked to the primary color. So there we go, and whenever we update the theme, we also have to update the definition of the theme, like so. Oh, that's not like so, like this. There we go. Copy paste for the win. So there we go. So we updated the theme and we're using the background color here. Why is it complaining about that? Oh, did I write something wrong? To be... What is it complaining about here? Oh, I must have done a lowercase c. These misspellings are killing me here. Wait, what is it complaining about there? That's weird. Theme colors dot background color to be with a lowercase c. Value keyword case. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, this is like a spelling rule, a stylant rule. Oh, nice. Thank you for correcting me, Daniel. CSI Miami. That's the one with the guy. So this is kind of cool. I'm totally fine with that. So it even has its own rules for how to name the CSS variables. I like it. And hey, if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. That's what it wanted, right? So let's assume that's what it wanted, and let's fix it here and fix it here, like so. And there, now it's not complaining anymore. And now our background is black, and it's the background color. So that is better. So use theme color for background. A new theme color that we made. Maybe I should say, use new theme color for background. There we go. Now, here's another one I wanted to do to kind of remove some lines, and just because I can, so it's kind of neat that we can do it, is we don't have to use React importing for types. We do have to for like if we're doing use context. We can't do like react.useContext because React is global, remember, but it's not that kind of global. But for types, it does allow that. So if we go to an example here, here's a good example where we're using a type for React for component type. What we can actually just do is do like React dot. And now we don't even need this line. And I'm going to look for more of these by doing a search. We'll remove that one to start, and we'll do a global search here. And let's just remove them because I prefer it like this, to be honest. It makes the line a tiny bit smaller, but you remove a whole line. And it also kind of gives you like a freebie comment in a little way. Because before, when it just says FC, someone who's like not familiar with React could be like, what is FC? But now it's like react.fc. So it's like, okay, this is something to do with React, you know? You don't have to go look up, well, what's the import for this, you know? So in that way, it's kind of, it's not bad, you know? It's not bad, it's good. So we'll do, and we're just gonna do this monotonously. Maybe there's some keyboard shortcut or some Vim keyboard warrior thing to do this faster, but I'm fine to do it this way. Maybe here is the one gotcha where some Vim person could be faster than me. There's probably some global way to change this. But we'll just do it the old school way. This is, sometimes I like doing it this way, you know? When you just change everything all at once, you can kind of get worried, like, did I make a mistake somewhere? And then you just go checking that, and then in the end, you're still looking at every file, so we'll just keep removing these until we're done. I think that's most of them. These are all actual functions. These aren't types. These are types here. So React element, we can do the same. Where's React element? It's here. Get rid of that. There's one more here at least, if not more. I think I just made another one recently. Yeah, the dispatch one was another example. So that's another one. You can do it there. And look at that. We just removed a bunch of lines, I think. And yeah, it makes the code more simple, honestly, I think. And like I said, you get that freebie comment. Let's run prettier because we've probably made some of the lines too long. So npm run prettier, and that's going to fix that. And it's probably going to change some other files I didn't want it to change. Let's check. So yeah, we just got our proper 12 files, actually. I think that's right. And that was no more React imports. And let's take a peek at, make sure that's what we got. Yeah, so we removed a line. Removed a line, removed a line. Yeah, oh, there. So here we added a line, I guess, because that had to go into a new line. But we got some benefits in the end, too. And if you look at what the old line was a little long, actually. I almost prefer this a little bit. It's a little more digestible, you know, in some ways. Again, we just removed a line there. Here's another additional line, I guess. Remove. Pretty simple. Oh, this one we added two because it did that. But again, you know, maybe it's a little more compact. In some ways, it's nicer. Yeah, so there we go. So that's a simple one, right? So let's save that. Another little refactor, another not too hard one. Also, I don't know if this is going to be a 3-hour one this time, guys. I don't know if that's good or bad for you. Maybe you guys tell me if you prefer the 3-hour or the 2-hour format in the comments. But I don't know. I was feeling drained at the start of this. I'm feeling good now. Things are rolling, but if it ends up just being 2 hours, c'est la vie, right? So extract render process. Yeah, if you remember in the last one, I made this render process, which was cool because it actually made the key part make more sense. Before I had key all over the place, kind of. But now we probably can just get render process out of here. Got a comment here from Daniel. Up to you, man. Take a break and cut it short to get some rest if you're feeling drained. Yeah, I don't know if it's drained or what it is. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure if COVID's just getting to me or something. I'm just tired of stuff lately. This whole week has been like that. But I've been getting more sleep lately because I was going to bed at like 1 a.m. every night, and now I'm doing 11 p.m. So that's a little better. Anyways, let's remove this render process. We can pretty much just get rid of this entire chunk right here, I think, is all of it. Yeah, that was a nice little cut. And we'll just put that in the same folder. It's another system component, RenderProcess.tsx, right? There's some JSX in there. Let's check. Yeah, of course. Okay. So that's good. And now we have to export it. So we have to add one line there. Export default. This guy. Wasn't someone the other day telling me that default exports you couldn't automatically import, but it seems like that's working lately. It's been working lately for me. We'll try it now. So this is another default export, and let's see if this time it knows. So we've exported the component anyways. It's cleaner now in my opinion. It's just sitting here by itself. And now let's see if can it import? No, not really. Okay, so that was a bad one there as far as trying to prove to you guys that it was going to work, because it did not. So let's we got our nice little path structure where we don't have the dots and stuff. We can just go straight to it. So what did I make here? I made a component, and it was a system component, and there it is. Nice. That's when you know it works, when you find it where you expect to find it. So there we go. So we extracted out render process. Very simple. I just prefer doing this. We just made the two files smaller, and now we separated their concerns. Like before, process loader had dynamic in it, but dynamic was in regards to loading the window dynamically, and really didn't have anything to do with the process loader, honestly. So whenever we can extract it out, I just like doing it. And I haven't done it in the past, and I have to do it more. So you guys have to catch me and be like, hey, can you extract that out? That's right. Again, feel free to leave comments. Anytime you guys see me doing something, and it's like, oh man, Dustin's effing up, tell me. Is it okay to say effing up, Can I say effing up on this network? I don't know. Probably. I think that's okay. I know I see Linus Tech Tips say flippin' all the time, or frickin'. Those are just hacks. It's like you're swearing, essentially, but you're not doing the word that people say is bad, so it's okay. Anyways, extracted. Let's get that one in the books. Let's do a push now just to see if I broke the build. Oh, by the way, it did work last time. I didn't tell you guys, but we did fix the build last time. But we may very well broke the build. Who knows? So we'll see. I'll keep you posted on that one, and let's get back to the code. But sometimes it's nice to throw those out there because you don't want to get too far off if you break the build, because then you might have to change a bunch. Like me, I broke the build with the styled app in my test. If I had known that, maybe I would have cut back earlier instead of having to do this refactoring. So the more you can get those notifications, the better. What's next? Embed initial process state in hook. Yeah, basically the same idea. I think it's the same thing I did last episode when I was in some kind of giddy mood to just have props everywhere. So in pages here, not in the app, not in the document, here in the index, yeah. So again, it's like, why would this ever change? Why does the index need to know about get startup processes and pass those to the process provider? Can't the process provider just figure out what it needs to provide? So let's get this out of here, like so. And oh man, I pressed cut instead of, I copied this, but then I cut for some reason. Just press delete, Dustin, just get rid of it. All right, let's go into the process provider, and let's make it so it doesn't need that. And let's even move it one step further back, because I think at one point I had it like here, like that. But I don't even want it there. I want it in the hook. That's the place to have it, I want all the logic of what the context stuff is doing to be in its hooks, its hook state. Or I might have made that word up, but that's what I'm calling it. So yeah, it's not going to be here. It's not going to be here. And again, I think we can get rid of props, right? Yeah, we don't need this. Process provider props? No way, man. Get rid of those. Put that like so. And what else? Like I said, go into here, and then here is where we're going to use the, like that. And we're not going to pass it here either, So many unnecessary props and unnecessary type definitions. And we'll import this here. There we go. That feels so much cleaner to me, and it's the same idea. So if we do 5 save all, maybe it'll just work. Yeah, there's Hello World, and Hello World was the startup app. Let's kill the instance and start it again, because sometimes you change so much and you think it's working and it's actually not, but I think it's still working. Yeah, the world is still helloing, so there we go. So we moved. So in the same way that process context here is using useState for that, and we don't have right now the like set processes, but we will have that. And that will be what turned into like an open close and maybe some other reduces and passed in as other functions here within the process state. But we're not there yet. But now this is a full-on, I mean, this was already a full-on hook. It was already using useState. But this is to match how the session one is, if you remember, where we now are also using useState for setting the theme. And here we actually allow setting. We don't do it for process because, like I say, we're not going to just pass set processes here. We're going to have nice little pretty functions like open and close and that kind of thing. I think that's the plan. So we moved that there. And what did that get us? Now I think we're at the point. No, we're not at the point yet to show you what I wanted to show you. So let's just see embedded initial processes state in hook. That's all we needed to do there. Let's do another build because this is one of those changes where I'm like, did I change enough? I don't know. Because yeah, it was almost too easy. But I guess that's what happens when you got simple code and you're still working with a hello world. There we go. It's been a month and we're still at hello world, by the way. But I mean, we're only doing it 1 week at a time, so it's there's something about it though that allows this, like, it's not perfect, but it's like it allows me to perfect it. You know, it's not perfect, but I'm perfecting it. So what did we change? Yeah, like I said, we just got rid of a bunch of stuff again, just a bunch of code we didn't need. Oh, wait. I got rid of a prop here, didn't I? Yes, the process provider props. We don't even need that anymore. That's what I wanted to remove. That's what I was forgetting. Yes, so right in here. Session, yeah, that we need. But yeah, here, we don't need to pass anything to the provider. That was unnecessary. So just removing code, man. I love it. Less code. Look at all that red. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, basically, yeah. All I really did is take, what did I do? All I did is take get startup processes, and instead of passing it a bunch, which is like the prop drilling that we're trying to avoid in the end anyways, I just put it where I want it, which is in the use context here. So embed initial process state in hook. Nice. And I'm hoping that this segues us to our next thing. Yes, migrating context to a factory function. This is fun. This is a cool part. And I might need to check back to my notes because I did some better TypeScript foo this time using generics. And we're going to get to check out TypeScript generics this time. So get excited, guys. It's going to be, I mean, how else do you want to spend your Saturday night but checking out TypeScript generic definitions, right? So, but it all works so nicely that I'm hoping you guys like it. Anyways, let's get to it. So here's what I wanted to show you. So if we look now at the process, oh, not that, that's the types up here. The process. So you see how that looks, and you see how session looks. Now, can you guys even see that I'm switching? You see some similarities there, right? It's the exact same thing, basically. I've generalized context so much that this whole consumer provider thing could be like some kind of factory function or whatever you want to call it. I'm calling it a factory function. I might not be using the factory pattern perfectly, so feel free to correct me to call it something else. But first, let's just show you what my idea for it. So I'm going to put it here. I'm going to call it create context. Oh, wait. Does that kind of clash? I guess not. I mean, that's my version of create context, but there's something confusing about that. I don't like calling it create context, honestly. I thought I had a better name for it, though. Oh, yeah. Context factory. Let's just call it that. Context factory. Context. That's the old school way. Context factory. And it's probably going to be TSX. So basically what I'm going to do is just take this and just try to make this into something more generic. So the second part of what I want to do, we're going to still need the processes in the session file because we do need to have separate exports for those consumers and providers. But all that the process and session files are going to do is just call the factory, basically. So let's write how we'd like it to be. Let's comment all this out. And let's say so it's going to be exporting. First, let's just do the definition. So const, we're going to get the consumer from this function, and we're going to get the provider, like so. And that matches what we do here essentially with our create context. But the only difference, like we're going to pass consumer straight through, just like we do here. But for the provider, it's no longer going to be a React provider, and now it's going to be a React functional component where the provider value is passed as the context state and the children are inside the provider. So that's the difference there. So we will do this as context factory. And now here, I'm going to use the generic right at the start. Oh no, I'm not going to use it right at the start. Give me half a second here. Whoa, guys. So context factory is the function. And what do we need, really? We really only need two things. We need the initial process context state, and we need to know its like dynamic state, which is the use process context state. Those are really the only two things we need to know. And as far as the type that it is, it's the process context state. We know that. So how can we use this context factory with different types that way is through this generics here, like that. Now you see there's a ton of squiggly lines because nothing's defined here. But if you look, that's the basic idea. And then at that point, we just do our export. So we do export default like so, and we can say consumer as process consumer. And what was the other one? Provider as process provider. So that's essentially what was already being exported, process consumer and process provider. And why is it complaining? I don't know. Maybe I'm not writing something correct, or maybe because of all the things that are defined. What is it complaining about there? Because I actually used a similar syntax earlier. Well, let's take it one step at a time then. So let's get to it here. Context factory, like I said, we got to make it. So it's not going to be exactly this. It's going to be more like a wrapper of this function. So let's do like const. Let's put it in there and start our function and put everything in here that's in there. But as we want to return, as we see here, we want to return that consumer and provider. So we'll just put it like that for now. And we got the consumer here already, so we're just going to pass it straight through. We're not even going to have process consumer here. So we already were defining consumer here. We're not going to do the type there. It can infer the type now because this is going to be so generic that we're not going to have any types in that way. I mean, we could perhaps have the generic in here, but we're not going to get to that just yet. And then, so instead of the initial process context state, we just get rid of the word process and it'll be the initial context state. And where was that? That was the first variable. So the first one is the initial context state and the next one is the use context state, like so. And so we'll have to also define this. We don't have to export that, but we could, yeah, so this will be the process provider. And we'll just say provider, which will be from the process provider. So to make our context factory generic, it's going to just export consumer and provider, but we have to do a little renaming here because provider is already coming from the original create context. So that's pretty straightforward, honestly. That's actually it. So now you see here, we got all the types there and we don't need that or that anymore or this. And let's see what else we still need. So what's it complaining about? Let's get right to the what's it complaining about stuff. Yeah, I mean, all the implicit any's. So that's where we want to do this generic. So there's only one type for the entire thing and it's the type that we passed here. So this is where we need to do the generic and the syntax is tricky. So I'm going to try to remember it here as I go. So I think you can do the generic. Is it like that? No, it's definitely not like that. Like that? No. I think the trick to doing it not as a type within TSX is kind of weird where you have to do that. Yeah. We're not going to have this when let's not even do that from the start. First off, the best way that I like to do these two types in general is to do none of it in the function and to just pass one type in. So let's just define it right now. Our context factory with a capital C. And it is a function, right? And it passes that. So we need to define these pieces. So we know that's that. And we'll define them here. In a second we will. And this is what it returns, is the consumer provider. So we'll do that, and we'll define those in a second. And now we can just say, see, now we can just say that. And now we can purely focus on the type here, and we can extract it later. And we don't have to worry about any of the typings here because everything can be inferred. So here's where we get to the generics, and I think it'll work better this time. So now when I do the T, yeah, see, it doesn't complain there. For some reason, I don't know if it's TSX, JSX, or arrow functions, but if that idea here, you can't do it like that. Here you have to do, you see how it's complaining and the coloring's wrong? But if you do this, it's okay. And I saw someone mention that, and I was like, oh, okay. But I don't like that little workaround, and I much prefer this. So here's how the generic works as far as I understand it. So you see here the T is is to say generic. TypeScript talks about that. I don't have a link for it, but actually let's see if we can find a quick link for it here. TypeScript generics, and we'll just see a quick peek. Oh, that's bright. The world of generics here. And yeah, you see. So they're using T here as their way to do it. We've now added a type variable T. So I don't think it has to be T, but I think we will use T because that's just the style that you do. So if we passed it in here, right? So now we just have to use it. We just have to use it where it's relevant here. So for initial context state, absolutely. That is just that. Now for the use context state, this is a function. So it's a function that returns that same type. And now same for the consumer, in that we know if we hover over it here, we see that it's consumer. That's like a React thing again with the T here. It already knows that. It already knows because we're doing it here. You know, so if I get rid of that there, then I hover over consumer. See, now it says any. Now it doesn't know because I passed a thing in here, and if it had a type, it would have known. So now when I put a type in again, now consumer knows again what it is. And if I just copy that, I can just paste it in there. And now this is React, so we can do that, adding React right there. So you see how we're able to use the generic in all these places, basically. And for the provider, well, that is just a React functional component, as you see here. We can't really do much about that, I think. What is it complaining about now? Oh, I haven't exported it yet. Okay. But yeah, this is that. I think now we don't even need the definition here, but I might be wrong. Let me see. Yeah. Oh, no, I do. Or else it complains about children. So, okay, cool. But yeah, I don't think we can define this any further to talk about this piece. I don't think we need to, you know, like we don't need the T piece here. Just like, hey, the provider is a functional component. That's one of the main pieces. So there we go. So we made quite a nice little type, I think, here. I think this goes like that. Is that how that goes? Yeah. So let's extract the type right at the start here. Let's get that out of here. We'll call it the file context factory. And what folder is it in? It's in context. Okay, we already have a context folder. So let's just make context factory.ts, and we take our type and bring it in there, and it's going to complain until we export it. And there we go, we've exported it. So now we might be able to import it here, yes. And we import it as a type. There we go. So I don't know if this works, but you see the simplicity of this as that factory idea. It seems pretty simple enough. So what's complaining are we getting here? Let's start with importing this and see where this gets us. Oh boy, it hates everything here. Oh, I haven't even exported it yet, right. That was the thing it was complaining about. Export, default, context factory. There we go, that's exported. Is it gonna know to import this now? It actually does. Oh, but it did it weird though. Oh, okay. So I think it can import defaults if they're in the same folder maybe. Maybe it looks in the folder for the exact name, but this is not the format we want because this isn't even the right location. We want it in, where was it? Components, was it? No, it was context. It's a context. So it's in context, it's the context factory. So the process context, that I think we had here in our types. Yeah, in the initial one, we had that, and we had this. Okay, that got us pretty far. So what's it complaining about here? Let me just check the syntax there, because there's a way to do export as, but I'm doing it wrong, I guess, because it really is not happy with it. Why is that? Let's quickly peek at the code here. This is where sometimes you peek at the code, because I know I did export before. Space as space. Oh, okay, you don't put default, right. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. What was I thinking? Sometimes it's obvious, you know? So yeah, just get rid of default, and there we go, that stopped. And now it's complaining about order and stuff here, so let's just delete that and do the organizing like it wants. There. So now, does that not look a little bit more simple for an entire context? I think that's pretty cool. And it's generic at the same time. And now we just copy that and can so easily use it in session. And later on in the future, it'll be the same for the file system. So basically, we just have to switch the word process to session here in every scenario. Let's just do it with a search and replace, in fact, session. There, and let's just get rid of all that and see if it just works. Oh wait, this didn't just work. Why not? Oh, is it not a capital S? Oh, is the other one thinking it is? Oh, okay, no. That was just the way it's just because of my search and replace. I didn't respect case there. So you see now, I mean, they still look identical, but they're more simple now. And now the context factory kind of, if you want to know how I build my contexts, they're all just here, you know? It's not like, how does he do the process context? How does he do session? How does he do file system? It's like, you don't have to worry about that. All you have to do to make a context is give an initial state and a hook to how to make a new state, basically. So I'm pretty sure someone else has done this pattern, but I was pretty happy with myself when I did it. I don't know if anyone else thinks it's of any interest. So that worked. Let's do some tests to validate that it works. First off, trying to turn our system off and turn it back on and see what that gets us. See if our hello world is still there. Yeah, absolutely. Let me reload this. Yeah. So hello world's still working. That means our session and our process must be working, I would say, because they're both utilized. Let's do a build and make sure we don't have any type errors as well. I think we pretty much caught any ESLint errors, and those are going to be caught with the hooks too. Prettier as well will be. I like to run prettier just before we do our reviews, but I don't always run prettier when I'm just committing by myself. And like in the future, whenever these streams are done and the repo still works this way, you don't have to keep running prettier manually. It's just something I do for illustration purposes, basically. So let me run the command again to get dev back up because I just killed it. There we go, it's back up. So yeah, so what did I change? Not too much. If you think about it, I kind of generalized it. So you see before we had a 15-line file for our context, and now it's 11 lines. Same with session. And now we added a 16-line file, but it's like now the logic has been moved from 2 places to 1 place, kind of, I would say. And we've also defined a type, and we've defined our first generic type. So that was kind of cool. So if you guys hadn't done too much generics, you see one there, it's kind of neat, where you can say, you know, the type that's passed here is used here, and it's the result of this, and it's used as the consumer here. And then you can make a generic, but you still can't keep that type. And just to show you too, the power of that too. So if I'm in processes, right? And now I've defined it here. So now if I was to just switch these variables, it's like, it is not happy with that, you know, because it's like, hey, this isn't expected, you know, because it knows it's able to pass that type information down. So even though I have something generic, it's able to give me valid type information about things. So that is it for the refactors there. Let me post that one. Migrated context to factory function. And I think I've done everything that was in here. I embedded the initial process hooks. Let's push what we got here. Yeah, so I've done all of that. Just trying to see if I skipped anything. No. Well, we got through it pretty smooth. So now we get to that part that I was, that catch that I've been holding you guys for, which was what happened with the wallpaper. So if you guys remember last time, I was getting this error about geometry. The geometry couldn't be found in the constructor. And the thing is, I should have just followed the error because it's saying the geometry is not part of the constructor. And I started looking at random stuff. But it's like, first thing I should have done is look at the constructor, you know? Well, does it have geometry, you know? It, like, rather than, I think I was even thinking like, oh, there's no constructor or it's some kind of code error. But the reality of it was the constructor, which was 3JS, no longer has geometry function. And if you ask how that kind of thing could happen, well, I can show you guys right here that 3JS just removed geometry. I guess they've been talking about deprecating it for years, apparently, and Vant has kind of been ignoring that. Not completely. I mean, in some of their effects, they do use the proper new version, the non-deprecated geometry. But in Waves, the theme I wanted to use, the wallpaper I wanted to use, it's broken. So, I mean, they use the old geometry, which is now broken. And on the note of it being broken, and after confirming and doing all my testing and stuff, I've actually made a GitHub issue. And this is something fun you guys can do that is something cool with open source, is like, as you're working on stuff, if you find a problem and it's not from your stuff, you can kind of follow that path along and you can fix it yourself, or you can comment and explain to people what's wrong. And in this case, as you see here from this post that I've made, I've kind of explained what's wrong. I attempted to fix it, but it's kind of out of my wheelhouse for programming. in that I tried fixing it, but it starts to get into like vertex shading and just a bunch of like game programming math, that kind of thing. And it's just, I don't really have a lot of experience with that. So I couldn't shade things properly basically. And I just couldn't get it to work. But I feel like the people that have made other things for Vanta.js could come in and upgrade that in a minute, you know? So what was my solution then? Basically is to downgrade Three.js for now to R124, which works fine in our purposes because we're not trying to utilize Three.js as much as we're trying to utilize this Vanta wallpaper. So whatever works with the wallpaper is fine with me for now. I'd like to have all the Three.js fixes and performance tweaks and everything, but they've decided to completely deprecate that with no real simple alternative, unfortunately, other than switching to a style of geometry that requires different like ways of functioning. So it looks like Three.js does that a lot. I think there will be some future problems with Vanta and some of the other things they plan to deprecate. Phase 3, I think, was another function that I think is used a lot. So that's the gist of what happened. So basically what I'd like to do now is kind of go back to the code that I had for the wallpaper and just kind of show you guys what I was doing again and rebuild it again, basically. So let's go back to our desktop. That's where we started here. Because if you remember, I didn't commit anything. I changed a bunch of code and I didn't commit it. So I'll go through somewhat mini quick here as we go over this, just because some of it's been ground we've discussed, but at the same time, there's some new people always, so I won't go too fast. So first thing, we have our style desktop already, and this style desktop is basically just our container that we can go into it really quick. Just remember what it is. It's a main element, and it's just got all the stuff to position it exactly where I want it, and then it's also got the default background color that we're grabbing from the theme now properly. So basically, we need to turn this into a function because we need a reference to the DOM element, because Vanta.js requires us pass it the DOM element for it to do its magic and to place itself in the right spot. So I'll just make this into a function here, and then I'll do a return like that. And I think now we don't need those brackets probably. It'll probably be okay without those. And we need to use ref in this scenario. So we'll call it desktop ref, and we'll go use ref. And use ref is just a way to, within React, get the DOM element and to use it properly. There's some hack ways to do it, but this is the right way, I would say. And when you're doing use ref with TypeScript, you want to define what you're going to reference, which is the HTML element, an element in this case. It's actually a main element, but they don't have that in TypeScript. I don't think it's any different than an HTML element, I guess. Or I don't know if you're supposed to use div in this case, probably not. So let's import that. We need that. Another trick here, watch here. So now we take the desktop ref and we just go like that to add it, but it's going to complain until we do null here. That's just a little gotcha of the way use ref works. I can't remember the reasoning as to why that's necessary, but there's some useful reason for it. I think you just have to start the ref empty. Initial value, yeah. Yeah, I think ref can be null, but if you don't put anything, it's mad. What does it say here? No overload matches. I mean, it's one of those TypeScript errors. There's a lot of words here, but in the end, all you had to do is put null there. So why did we need the desktop ref? Like I said, because we want to pass it to Vanta. Now, here's where we get into this cool idea I had for how to do the wallpapers and how to keep them in the theme and to how to have it be expandable so people can add themes, add wallpapers, and have different wallpaper settings depending on the theme, that kind of thing. So that gets into my hook, my default, my custom hook, which is use wallpaper. And we're going to just pass the desktop ref like that. And that's how that part goes. That part's simple enough. And now we can move on to the use wallpaper hook, which we'll put in hooks. We'll call it use wallpaper dot TS probably. I don't think it's JSX in this case. And yeah, let's make the function and export default use wallpaper. And remember, we need that element. So we're passing the ref. So if we hover over it here, we see it's a ref object of an HTML element. We'll just use that as is. And we'll call it the element ref. Because within use wallpaper, it doesn't need to know, I guess, that it's desktop ref. So I'm not going to call it desktop ref. Or should I? I mean, the wallpaper's for the desktop, so maybe I'll just call it desktop ref. Let's just keep the name consistent there. No reason not to, I can think of. So this is another opportunity to use React here, react.ref object, so you know it's a React one. And we need to define what we're returning here, which is nothing actually. So let's just say it's void. I put it in the wrong spot there. Actually, it needs to be over here. There we go. Nope, not like that. Void. There we go. Nope, it was actually correct the first time. What was the error? Oh yeah, so that actually did make it happier. It's just complaining because it's empty. Okay, yeah, fair enough. What do we want to put here? So here's where we get into the generic part that I was talking about. I want to use the theme context to get a wallpaper from the theme. So the theme is already going to know everything about the wallpaper basically. And I'm just going to pass it in here and then run a wallpaper function basically on the element. And yeah, let's get into how it'll work here. So we need to use the theme basically. So how to do that? Right, we need the theme context. Do we use it anywhere else? Theme context? No, we don't use it yet. But that's the gist of it. Let's double check it on styled components here. Styled components, theme context. Right, because in a hook, we want to get attributes of the theme. So this is the basic gist of how to do it. So let's just copy that right there. Like so. Import that. And what was the next piece? This piece here. Like so is the theme context. So the theme context is basically the theme, is my understanding. Let me just validate that by looking here. Yeah, current theme context. So that's going to have everything we need in it. So we can actually just destruct this right away, and like we could use what's in the theme. I've forgotten what's in the theme here. Let's check it. Styles theme. So like let's say we could do colors, background color, colors, background, and it even autocompletes. So you see here, we need to also import use context. So you see here, that's how we can use the theme. So, but within theme here, we need a wallpaper basically now, a wallpaper. And what I would like this wallpaper to be is a function, because we need to pass in that desktop element. So for now, I'm just gonna do that like so, and it's gonna be, no, actually that's a mess. Is that the best way to start this? Let's just leave that there for a second and finish this piece. So we'll call that wallpaper then. Remember, this is going to be a function where we just pass the object. And we're going to... Right, so it needs to be... So this is a custom hook. We grab the wallpaper render function, and then we want to apply that. But we only want to apply it when everything's loaded, so we need a use effect. Another hook. So we got another we got to use effect, and within that we have a function that will run our wallpaper function. And another thing is we can have wallpaper be optional. So if there is no function, it'll just stay as the default color that we already set. And so there's the function there. We're passing the desktop ref, and we want to update the use effect if the desktop ref changes or if the wallpaper changes. And that's our effect right there. That's pretty clean. And like I said, wallpaper, we want to not necessarily run if it's undefined. And a very simple way to do that in modern JavaScript is just like that. So now if wallpaper is not defined, it's not going to run that as a function, and it's never going to apply anything to the desktop ref. So now we have to deal with this wallpaper function here. So this is a cool idea I liked, that I thought, that's kind of a simple custom hook where it runs a use effect, it grabs the wallpaper function theme, and then it just applies it to the desktop. So now we just have to make that idea basically. So let's work on a function. It's going to be like the Vanta waves function. Let's go to the Vanta page and see how they do it here. Actually, let's just show you guys quick in case anyone doesn't know. There it is there. This is the Vanta.js stuff. So the one we want is waves here. That's the one we're hoping to get. We're not going to have these controls though, I don't think. It's got some custom settings here. We're going to use those as well. And on their GitHub, they do explain how to do it with React hooks, which is essentially what we want. So let's just copy this entire piece first, and let's just make a file. I'm going to switch to the code here. And within the utils, that's where I'm going to have it for now. And I'm going to have this be specific to waves. I'm going to have these wallpaper file functions that I make are going to be very specific to a certain style of wallpaper. So Vanta waves.ts, and we'll just paste all that in there. So currently it's not using waves. We just have to switch that. It's using birds in this example. That's another one. That's the flapping one that we saw by default. But we'll use waves. So we'll rename this to be waves. We'll rename this to be waves. We don't need this. Let's see what else it's using here. And I'm just trying to find the reference to it myself here so I have an idea of what I wrote. Right, so yeah, we got that. So here it's complaining because we don't have Vanta installed. So I think last time in my example, I took the lib file from Vanta and just pasted it in the folder structure. And that's what I did in the original code that I made. But I actually am going to use the NPM because it's better. I don't know why I didn't. I don't even remember why I didn't last time. I think it's just Vanta. So I'm just going to do npm I Vanta. And if it works, this squiggly anger will disappear. And it's not a dev dependency. We're going to need this. This is a real dependency. So yeah, that did it. That's the right version. That's what I expected to see. It didn't stop this from complaining. Oh yes, this gets into a whole other issue that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So you see here, it's a thing with TypeScript where it wants every single thing you import to have some kind of definition, or you define it yourself. Now, for our scenario, for what we're using this waves for, which is this, we really don't need that, I think. So a solution that I had found is to do these kind of TypeScript annotations of an ignore, basically, like an ESLint kind of one. So in the TypeScript documentation here, there's something called, that they've added it in TypeScript 3.9 called TS except error. What does this do? Imagine that we're writing a library in TypeScript and we're exporting some function call, do stuff. The function types declares, what is this, a bad example? What's complaining here about types? When a line is preceded by this, TypeScript will suppress that error from being reported. But if there's no error, TypeScript will report that wasn't necessary. So that's kind of useful, I think. And also, if there's some other types of ways to ignore it that my current strict rules don't allow, but they do allow this exception because you can be very explicit with this, and you actually have to be. And I'll show you what I mean here. So, oops, if I make that comment and I say I want to ignore this, just like that, why is it not complaining now? It was complaining to me earlier. I think this happens if you run like a build, is that it says, hey, you need to give a reason here. And I'll basically just give the reason that no declaration file is required. Was that what it's called? Declaration? Is that the wording? I don't want to lose this, but I want to copy the word declaration. Yeah, declaration. I don't know if I spelled that right, so take it from there. There we go. So yeah, no declaration file is required in this case. And I don't know if this shows up somewhere in the code or like if you run a build or something. It'd be cool if it did, just so you know about these. But I like to be able to make that little comment and at the same time tell TypeScript, hey, don't worry about it. So let's call this what we were going to call it before, Vanta waves. That's the name of the file. We need to export that. Export default, Vanta waves. And what did we say we wanted to pass to Vanta waves? We wanted to pass, no, that's in the desktop. We can import use wallpaper now. We have that. There we go. Close the desktop. So right, within use wallpaper, this wallpaper is going to be essentially this function. So what I'll show you right now what I was talking about now. So in the theme, remember I had wallpaper here and I said it'd be a function. So just be like that, basically. And can I import that? Yeah, I can already import that actually. What's it complaining about? Yeah. There's parsing errors in the code. Okay, I know that. So this is the basic idea for now. So you see now we have the wallpaper. We can specify Vanta waves, right? Now let's see how far we can get with that. We have to define this, by the way, in our theme here. Here, we have to say this wallpaper can be, I guess it's just a function that returns nothing. It's just a void function, yeah. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything that you know about. It could be like a Boolean, and then it could tell you if it successfully made the wallpaper, but we don't care about that. So just a function, you know, like that. And now it shouldn't complain here. Yeah, now it's not complaining here, but it's complaining here because we haven't yet told it we are expecting a desktop element. So we will go in here and let's use that same wording again, desktop ref. Oh, Oh, not like that. Just desktop ref. There, simple. Let me put this on a new line so it's a little more legible for now until Prettier fixes it. So same thing here, we'll say React so it know what it is. So there we go, so we passed that in. Now let's see what they've done here, because some of this I'm pretty sure we do not need. Yeah, we don't almost need none of this. Let's just get this waves part here. This is the part that's actually the wallpaper. So let's just look at this in isolation. That's the wallpaper piece, desktop ref.current, there we go. L being how they call element. That's just how they named it. So yeah, what do we want to do here? Part of this is good. So we actually did want to return something now that I think about it. And if you see here in the example, they've done it. They return this destroy function. Is that within the effect? Because this isn't a hook. How does that work? That's weird, because the Vanta wave, and then does it run the destroy function? Oh yes, I'm sorry guys, I kind of lost track of it here. So remember, in the hook, we're using it, within use wallpaper, we're doing use effect, and remember that the use effect function also expects a function to be returned from it. And that function is used to destroy the wallpaper or whatever, to clean up after itself. So actually, if we go back into themes here, I had that definition slightly wrong. So it's not returning void, it's returning another function that returns void. So that's kind of complicated looking, but correct, I guess. Yeah, must be correct. I'm just trying to see here in my code. This is where I need to double check myself. Oh right, because I've defined this. I'll make this into a type here. Let's just make it into a type now. So basically it's a wallpaper type, but it's like an effect. So I was thinking of calling it a wallpaper effect, and that kind of matches what Vanta's does with their Vanta effect. So it's an effect, and that works good with use effect too. So let's call it a wallpaper effect, and let's just say that it's a wallpaper effect, and we'll just do that for now. And let's move that into its own little house in types, and this is in styles. And yeah, is it going to be a style? Yeah, I think it's styles basically. That's debatable though. Where's wallpaper again? Well, the wallpaper is a utility, but it's an effect. I think I don't know where to put it exactly yet. Let's just put it right in the root of types until we can think of a better place for it. I don't like that either. It's here, and it's also going to be in Vanta waves. We're going to have to also reference that it's a wallpaper effect. So at least those two places. This is where it gets tricky with a type that you want to use in two places, but within the types folder, it has to live somewhere. I'm going to put it in styles because it's definitely used here. So, and we already have an existing styles folder. So let's just call it wallpaper.ts. Is that the best thing to call it? Ugh, I'm not happy with that. Maybe themes make sense for it. I don't know. Let's keep fleshing it out and see if it makes sense to maybe move it. This gets tricky with types, so you never know. But this is correct here. So within theme, there can be a wallpaper that's a wallpaper effect. So let's not think about the theme and file anymore and focus on it being there. And let's fix our Vanta file a bit more. So like I said, this also needs to return that destroy function, which it's been written here. Here they're using use effect, but we're not going to do that because we're using it outside of this. This isn't even a hook anymore, basically. So part of that doesn't need to look like that then. Right, so now we just want to run Vanta effect right at the start, basically. We don't even need a hook. So let's just say the Vanta effect is right here, and it's the waves. Simple. There we go. So that's a lot simpler, and now we don't need either of these pieces. Like I say, we're not doing that here, but we are returning the destroy here. So with Vanta effect, now we can do the destroy function in the return. And we can do that same trick where we say if it's not defined, don't worry. And this can be defined and this can still not exist. So we should double check that too. We got to be careful there. So this gives us some double protection there. And then we basically don't need any of this. This is all just not necessary. And so you see the code looks quite a bit simpler there. I'm questioning if it works. Oh, we didn't even need those imports. And then what's it complaining about here? Missing return type. Ah, yes. So Vanta Waves is a wallpaper effect. Surprise. Right. So now we have to fix this piece here because it doesn't just take an empty function. It takes that desktop ref. So if we go back to where I made the type, wherever that was, here, now this has to be like that. And boy, that goes off the screen now. So let's just put this like that. So that's more what it looks like, where a wallpaper effect takes a desktop reference and returns a void function, which will be the cleanup function. So how does that work now? It's still complaining? Why is it complaining about that? Oh, it moved this little piece up one with the auto sorting. So let's put that back in its place. There we go. So now that's working and it shouldn't complain. It's still complaining here. Parse errors in imported module. That's a weird message. I don't know what that means. What if I just undo that? Yeah. Have you tried cut and paste? You know, that works. So you see the simplicity of it here. Now we're going to go one step further in a moment here, but I want to see what we got now. So as it is now, I don't think we have enough for it to work, but let's just try because the code makes some sense. Let's kill this and we got to reset our dev environment here. And let's see what it complains about. I feel like it's going to crash on me or give me some kind of error. Well, it didn't work anyways. Let's see in the code if there was a console error. Cannot read property face colors of undefined. Face colors. Ah, yes. So this gets into the next piece of Vanta.js, and this is a piece that we actually did do in our talk last time. And if we get into the usage here, and this also gets into 3JS, which we were just talking about, is that we need 3JS basically. I don't know in what scenario Vanta works without 3JS. In this example, it doesn't have it. Oh, it talks about it here, of course. I just ignored the comment, but make sure window.3 is defined. So 3 needs to exist, basically. Luckily, it's really easy, and they talk about here how to do it. Basically, this line plus adding 3 into the function, you know, after the element's defined. So it's not too hard. We can just put it in there, like so, and we have to import this. So npm I 3, and now remember here, this is where the version was mixing us up because they've removed that geometry function. So we need to say at 0, well, we need to be very specific with which version anyway. So let's just double check because I have the release versions here, and it's not the 125, it's the one before 125 is what we need. So we open it here, there's 125, and then before 125, if you go into the tags, was 124. And it doesn't actually tell us what the version is from that. So if we go into NPM 3JS, we can look at the versions there. Here, versions. And now we can be very explicit. So this is the exact version we want. It's 0.124.0. So we'll take that into our code here. And we need to say there, with that @ symbol, we basically say what we want. And it's going to import that. And I think it'll allow patch versions, but it won't update the 124, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that. To be honest though, they're already at 125. They're not going to fix 124. So I'm just going to go into the package.json file and I'm just going to say for 3JS right now, I'm going to remove this piece. So like under no circumstances, upgrade 3JS. And we'll remove that. Yeah, there we go. So now this is properly importing, but we're not using it yet. So now just to use it, all we have to do, like it said here, is pass that like that. And now we can sort this properly. Oh, it moved my comment again. Auto sort's dangerous with that comment. There we go. So that's like that. And oh, look what we have above us. We have a wallpaper. Now, isn't that cool, hey? So that was the only problem. So now we have our wallpaper. We have a cool animated wallpaper, guys. Now we have something that moves for the rest of our videos. That's nice. And it's currently got some motion control. Now we want to get rid of that. So now we can start getting into settings and the fact that we want to do some settings here. So what kind of settings do we want though, right? I don't even know. Well, I don't want those controls. I don't want those mouse controls. So let's go to the browser here and let's see for Vanta.js what kind of options they had. We'll switch to waves here. And we can see here what they have. So we see there's some custom settings with waves. These are the custom wave settings, basically. Let's copy those. I think color is pretty generic, but let's copy these settings here and paste those in there. This is just a comment for now, but we're going to make a type that is those settings, so that other users, if they want to also have their theme use Vanta waves, they'll have a type that they can use to have the proper theme information. So what else here did I want to know about? So here's those controls. So we got mouse controls and touch controls, and they're true. And I've checked, by the way, and by default they're true. So I think we want to set those as false. Well, we know they're default true because I didn't set them, and they're on in my code. As you can see here, that the mouse, the screen moves when I move stuff. So these are the control ones. Now, a nice way that I like to kind of add a comment here, I mean, it's kind of obvious what these two are, but I'd like to group them and give them a purpose. So what I'm going to do is just say disable controls. And I'm just going to paste it in like that. So now we have one setting called disable controls, and we'll set these to false to turn those off. And now we can just paste it in our settings kind of like this. So you see now in the initialization, it's like, okay, disable controls. And you don't even really need to know about this, even though I'm going to keep it up there for now, but it's just cool to have. And then now we get to settings, and here's where it's interesting. So how do we want the user in the theme to control settings? These settings specifically. So if we go to the theme, where could we put it? And I played with some ideas. At one point what I had was like this, where I had like render was Vanta waves, and then I had settings here, and you could pass the settings in there. But then in the use wallpaper step, I would combine them, where it was like render, and then I would pass in settings. But then I started thinking about it, and I thought, you know what's cool is I can just do Vanta waves, and then I can make this a function that returns a function, and basically put the settings right here, and just put them right there in the theme. And then in the use wallpaper, this wallpaper function will already be essentially binded with the settings that came from the theme. So if we take these settings here, we're going to use all of them, and we're going to paste it in there. We're going to uncomment this. And it's weird the way they do the color. I'll have to fix this in later. I mean, it's not something I can fix, but the color's silly. Like you see the 0x5588. I think it's like some kind of wonky hex, or I have some tool to convert it, but I'm not going to mess with it this episode. I'm just going to paste that in like that. What are some of their other settings? Now, I kind of wanted to use my settings. We're going to look at my settings here because I have them in my code that I've already kind of done a little bit. What did I have for my settings? Here we go. I'm just going to copy these because I've already kind of tweaked them, and then we can kind of look at them, and you guys can tell me if you think I should tweak them further. So we'll just take those settings there. This is basically what I used on my old web page. So why is it complaining already? Argument of type, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so that's true because I haven't even defined that the Vanta waves is going to accept this other function. So that just broke everything. So now if we go to Vanta waves here, now we can, all we have to do that is basically just say here is another function. Yeah, another arrow like that. No, equals, there. Is that right? No. Yeah. We just need to have more settings. So they'd be here, and then they'll be called settings. And in this scenario, it's going to be the Vanta waves settings is going to be the type. And now we have to propagate that into the wallpaper effect. So in the wallpaper effect, we also have to declare that actually there's another piece in front of this, which is like that. And it's this piece. Why is it? Oh, because this doesn't exist yet. And we'll have to put this here. So let's put it right here. Export type, Vanta wave settings. And, oh, that's not supposed to be like that. Neither of those are supposed to be. Prettier, we'll fix that. The semicolons need to be somewhere, but I can't remember where. So the Vanta settings, like we said before, are those are the wave specific wallpaper settings. And all of these are numbers, actually. That's a number, that's a number, that's a number, that's a number. They're all numbers, guys. And girls, assuming I have some girls watching. There we go. So that's pretty clear there. Now this part's wrong. I don't like this one bit. Why? Didn't I have a better way to do that? This gets into the same thing where maybe this could be more generic, right? Could we use a generic here? Did I use a generic? I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure I didn't. I don't even know what I did. I didn't even do that? That's weird. I don't think I evolved this idea far enough, but let's just keep running with it here. I think this is better anyways. So it's just weird that it's not in the definition. Oh, okay, I know why. I don't need to muddy the waters with this wallpaper effect piece. I think that's my problem. I think what I'll do is let's keep this like this for now. The wallpaper effect is just take a desktop element and do something with it. And then on this end of things, this piece should be here. So it's like Vanta has the settings and then it returns the wallpaper effect. So now this part's copacetic again, and now this is the piece that it's not sure about. And now that type can still live there. I think this fits here, having wallpaper.ts with wallpaper types in it. So the Vanta waves is a wallpaper type. I'm okay with that being there. So we just have to import this in here. And it had no problem with that. And we have to use settings. So now we can just add settings along to the disable control part. And yeah, all the complaints have stopped there. And now perhaps our code is fixed. Let's see. I don't think it's going to rerun on its own. Sometimes it gets so broken that it just doesn't rerun. Let's see if it's fixed now. I might have forgot to save something. Drum roll? No, no drum roll. Okay, so it's broken. I broke it. Let's just check where I broke it here. That's fine. This should be fine. This should be fine. Where did I break it? That's interesting. So let's do an NPM. Well, let's check the console log first to see. So it's complaining about child nodes. Instance needs L param. I don't know what that's all about. Does it just need a refresh? Oh, it just needed a refresh. So I think what happened in those scenarios, and this happens sometimes with React, is I think it maybe tried to run this destroy function and that made things worse, perhaps. And then it just was in an unrecoverable state or something. But that's why, so I like reran run dev, but it still didn't properly refresh. So that's something to keep in mind, guys. So here we go. That's pretty cool. So look how simple this is, really. I mean, yeah, you got your disable controls, you got your settings that you're passing in. So it'd be so easy to make another wallpaper. Like maybe we should actually as a demo. Let's not this episode, but it'd be really easy to make another wallpaper. Like you could just change this one piece basically. And maybe we'll make a Vanta generic function, like a Vanta factory. I don't know. But for now, I'm just happy with waves. And I think it'd be cool, like other people could add non-Vanta related ones. So that's something to think about in the future. Now I need to think of a way to reduce the bundle size because I'm pretty sure this increased the bundle size a hefty amount, but having the animated wallpaper is kind of a signature of my app and I really like it. So I'm not going to get rid of it, to be honest. So let's check that the settings work. Let's try this. Let's increase the wave height to 105 and see what happens. Whoa, you see in the animation there, that made a big difference. So let's do a little fine tuning. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how interactive this can be, but does anyone have any heavy requests? You know, let's increase the wave speed here and see. Like my concern too is it getting a bit nauseating because if people can see it on mobile too, and it's like they're gonna get seasick or something watching or just being on my browser. The zoom level here, you can zoom out so far that you start to see the canvas, I think. No, maybe not. What if I go zoom to 1? No, I think if it's in desktop view, you get to a certain point where you see that it's kind of just a square and you kind of get to the edge like that movie Dark City, you know, where it's actually just all on I won't do any spoilers, but the movie's 20 years old, so you should probably watch it. What was the zoom level? 0.9? Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that setting for now. I'm not happy with the color, but that gets into a next episode thing, I think, where we're going to talk about the rainbow generator that I did to color cycle. And I don't know how hardcore we're going to get into it. We might just replicate what I did before, but there is a lot further I could go with color cycling. Because I wasn't really ever happy with the colors that it cycled to. They always felt a little muted and kind of bland, but I didn't really know the right way to loop through the colors and cycle them. But anyways, you see in our theme here now, so we have this really cool thing with wallpaper, Vanta wallpaper, and the settings right there. And now if we made another theme, it could be a totally different wallpaper. Or if we comment this out, the wallpaper goes black because it's a default and it didn't crash. We bring it back in, the wallpaper comes back, you know? So that's React for you. And it works. And it's and we've kind of separated out the logic into all these little pieces. So let's run prettier and then let's review what we got here. I think it's working. I mean, it's running, but Yeah, let's double check actually. Let's run a npm run build because I've been doing generics. I've been doing these types that have double, triple functions and stuff. And sometimes TypeScript doesn't tell me that I'm making mistakes, but when you go to build, it's like, I wasn't quite able to infer this. So you see the bundle size has increased quite a bit. You see it's in the red now. Before it was like 80 kilobytes and now it's like 240. So I'm really not happy with that bump, but this animated wallpaper is like kind of one of the heftier things. And I think maybe if I made the animated wallpaper a component, then I could dynamically load it, but it's currently not a component. It's kind of like a hooks and stuff. So the desktop itself could be dynamic, I guess. Is that an idea? Would we want to do that? Where are we loading desktop again? Within index, right? I mean, it's kind of silly, the idea, but let's try to find it and let's see what kind of difference it makes. Pages, index. So if we made desktop dynamic, if we make desktop dynamic, there's like no page. I mean, it's obviously going to load. No, that's stupid. There's no point in making that dynamic. That's just an additional network request. Like, it might make our initial bundle smaller, but it's absolutely inevitable that it's going to then need to load the rest anyways. So it makes more sense on a per wallpaper basis, because maybe once you don't have waves as your default wallpaper, then on your next load, the page would load a little faster. It's pretty unimportant though, honestly. It actually wouldn't change the bundle size now that I think about it. So it might, but it's not something worth worrying about too much. So the bundle's bigger. Let's double check our changes. So we've added 3 and we've added Vanta. We've set this to be exactly what we want version wise. We've added a reference here to the desktop, and then we just do the use wallpaper magic there. And that goes into the use wallpaper hook, which is a brand new hook we made that grabs the wallpaper renderer from our theme and passes the desktop reference to it, assuming it is defined. And if either the desktop reference or the wallpaper changes, it'll update. It'll rerun the effect, and it'll also run the destroy effect that we've defined here within our Vanta wallpaper. We have a destroy effect. So use effect will run this function every time that it ends itself. And it is the Vanta one. So this is just pretty much copied from the example and then kind of cut down to not even be a hook anymore. And I've kind of commented this a little bit here and tried to keep this piece a bit simplified. We pass the settings in, and then we pass out a wallpaper effect. We had to update the theme as well. We had to update that. We've put the wallpaper in styles, which I think I'm pretty happy with still, the wallpaper type. We have this cool way of doing the wallpaper definition now within our theme. And then there's our type, yeah. So I'm pretty happy with that, honestly. I think we can now say we have an animated desktop wallpaper, and now our demos will be a little flashier. So let's do it. Animated desktop wallpaper, done. So we're at an hour 53. I think it's the perfect amount of time to do the taskbar and then call it a day. And I never even did next stream. I think next stream is something we're going to decide together here. I never made those notes this time. Question mark? There we go. So let's get into the taskbar. Let's just get into mocking it out. So we're going to minimize all these so we can just see the thing. So the taskbar. What is the taskbar? The Windows taskbar. I don't have anywhere to screen share to show you it, but you guys know what the Windows taskbar looks like, I would assume. It's that bar that has a start button. It's got the entries, and that resizes. The start button never changes size. The clock never changes size. The taskbar entries list does change sizes. So these are good things to think about when we're going to be doing the CSS. And then the parts that we're going to care about for now, like I said, we're not going to get into the system tray for now, but the start button, the taskbar entries, and the clock. Those are the 3 things that are the basics, I think, that we'll mock out today. And let's just start by thinking where it needs to go. So it's in the system. It's not within the desktop. It's probably going to be right in the pages within the index. Yeah, I think this is probably a good place for it. The process loader is here, although the taskbar is going to be a process. So actually, it doesn't need to be here. It just needs to be in the startup apps. So we're going to have another startup process here called the taskbar. Probably just a lowercase b. And we'll do all the code here before we even have the component, just so that that part's done. So taskbar is going to be, this is the process we're making. It's not going to have a window. has window is false in this case. I don't know if I have to be explicit. I think no, I don't have to. So I only have to specify when there needs to be a window. Oh wait, is it complaining now? Oh, I've put this as not optional, but it should be optional. So let's fix that. The process, yeah, has window can be optional, because if we go back to my render process, I just say has window, then do this. So it could be undefined and then it'll do that, which is perfectly fine for me. Oh wait, but if it's undefined, then it's not a Boolean. But it's optional, so it's okay to be undefined. Yeah, now it can be undefined. Right, now it even says Boolean or undefined. So yeah, that little question mark is a lot of magic. So what did we just do? Right, we added taskbar here, we made the taskbar component, and we have to say it's not an app in this case, it's a system component called the taskbar. Yes, I think I'm happy with that, yeah. That makes sense. So it's complaining right away, of course. So now we have to make this. Now we have to go into components and into system, and we have to make the taskbar component. Taskbar.tsx. For sure it's going to be tsx. And there we go. Now it's not complaining anymore. Wait a minute. What happened? It's half complaining because I'm not exporting anything, but now it at least knows the file's there. But it's like, whoa, where's the component? Taskbar, like so. And we need to define it. Const taskbar equals, and this is our functional component. And we'll have it return, actually it's probably just going to be like that, and we'll have it return hi for now. Have it be the most simple component possible, just to get this working now. Let's refresh this. Oh, that's weird. Let me kill the current dev environment. I think it got really angry because that module didn't exist. This is another, it just gets angry sometimes because now hello world's disappeared. There we go. Cool, so now you see the hello world and you see hi. So hi is my taskbar component. And we can actually remove hello world now from the startup items. So let's say hello world is not a startup item anymore. And what happened there? Oh man. Oh, I think that hello world, well, this would never happen in real life where you remove a startup item, but in fake life, it crashes the compiler. There we go, just reload the page. So now we have it. We have our wallpaper and we have our taskbar. That's getting to be a thing. Although the taskbar is just the word hi right now. So now let's get back into our taskbar and let's make it something. So we're going to extract a styled component right away, and we're going to call it the styled taskbar because we need to apply some styling to this to get it to be where we need it to be at a minimum. And it's going to be styled. And this gets into semantic HTML again, which we've talked about sometimes. And in this case, the nav element, I think, is well suited for this. So you see the navigation section. Well, I would definitely call the taskbar a navigation section. And it has a lot of different submenus and contextual things. And I think it fits perfectly for what a nav is. And if you even see here, a very good example of a nav is an ordered list and with list items. And we're going to use that. Like our taskbar entries list is going to be an ordered list, and the taskbar entry is going to be a list item. And we're going to continue to use the semantic HTML throughout. So that's just a little note there that's what we're going to use as nav. So all we have to do here is say nav in our styled component. Oop. And now we have a styled component. We have to import styled here as always. Like that. And right away, let's just move this into the styles. So we'll export that and we go to styles, and it was a component and it was a system component. So that works out good. Styled taskbar.ts and paste it in there. And there's our styled taskbar that right now has no style at all. Dude, you have no style. There we go. That's that. And now we can define the styled taskbar. Right? So now it's wrapped in a styled taskbar. We have to import that. Oh, why did it try to import that? That's silly. Import styled taskbar from styles/components/system/styled taskbar. That's a long one. There we go. Let's just stop this thing from complaining for temporarily. There we go. define that type. So now we got our styled taskbar. Why is it? It's once again complaining. It really hates the way that I'm doing this. I might have to figure out later if I broke something there. Oh, could it be the wallpaper? Could it be my destroy function? Let me press save here. Let me switch this to hello. Yeah, I don't know why it actually had a problem with remove child there. It seemed like some kind of destroy function not doing what I'd expected to, but I don't know exactly which one, and I don't care. So now we have a styled taskbar. So now let's talk about the styling. I don't think we're going to get hugely into styling, but I think we can do some basic stuff. So we know it's at the bottom, right? So let's say bottom 0, and that should have moved it to the bottom. Oh, is it top 0? Oh, no, position absolute. I have to specify. I don't want position absolute, actually. I want position fixed. And the difference is subtle but important. I just want to specify it on the screen, so it's still complaining. What's next? Let's compare this to style desktop too, because I did similar things here. Right, so let's see, what did I do here? So I don't care. Well, do I care about color? Yeah, let's give it a color for now because it'll make it a little easier to visualize. Let's call it pink. And it will have 100% VW, 100% of the view width, as the taskbars tend to do. The height, we can set a height. In a future episode, we're gonna play around with a virtual machine of Windows 10, and we're gonna figure out exactly the height. I know the height. I can't remember it right now. I think it's 30 pixels, but we're gonna double check anyways. Let's just say 30 pixels for now. Left 0, yeah. Right 0, yeah. Top 0, no. So it's at the left point and at the rightmost point because it's 100% width, and it's at the most bottom point. And it's fixed. And as far as pink goes, well, if I don't want pink, but I want it to suggest the proper color to me. Ugh, it's so bad at suggesting colors to me. Let's just try 777. I don't know what color that is. Okay, so let's save what we got here. Cool. That partially was what I wanted, but as you see here, it's not at the bottom because the page is not the way I expected it to be. It's interesting because if you see me highlighting here, I just inspected. That's the desktop, as expected. But this is the nav here, and it's saying position relative. What if I remove position relative? Oh, okay. Wait a minute. So if I refresh the page, is this another one of those refresh the page things? It is. How many? I got to figure this out later, guys, because it's not being proper to me. Let me just try this again. What if I go top 0? Okay. And then if I switch it to bottom 0, now it's cooperating. I don't know. I've got a troublesome little tool at the moment, but anyways, so I had the styling right, and all these styles make perfect sense. We don't, obviously this should come from the theme, and we don't really, I think the color you could say is the primary color. If that's how we're going to use primary, which I don't know if we are. Let's set this color for now. Or it always has to go back to the theme in the end. Actually, on that note, the height of the taskbar also, I believe, should be part of the theme. The width, I don't know. I don't think so. The width of the taskbar being 100 or being the entire width is inherent to OS taskbars, basically. So I'm going to keep that. But we will eventually extract out this to the theme and this. For now, let's just leave them here because I don't know about this color. I don't know about this height. We can do this next episode, maybe. Okay, so we have our styled taskbar. It's at the position we want it to be now. Now we can start putting other elements inside it. So what else would go inside a styled taskbar? Well, like I was saying, the start button. So would we just call it the styled start button? No. I mean, we're going to have a styled start button, but that will be within the start button, you know? Same way that we have a taskbar, and within the taskbar, we wrap it in the styled taskbar. So we don't want to reference the styled component outside of that. We want to keep it here like this because it looks better that way. So the start button, I think that's pretty simple. That's not going to have any children inside it. But the task entries probably will. Let's say the taskbar entries. And this one will have children. And it will be... Or wait, will it? I don't think the taskbar needs to know about that. My current thinking is no, it does not. But there will be sub elements within the taskbar entries, and that will be another component, but we'll deal with that at the taskbar level. And the clock. Okay, so that's right. You got a taskbar that's got a start button, it's got the entries, and it's got a clock. So let's comment these two out first of all, and let's make our start button. And this stuff will change. This stuff is gonna change, guys. I'm sure it will. Maybe we should make a folder at this point too, called taskbar, and put all the taskbar related stuff in there. I think we should. We probably should do the same for process. Let's just make that another episode involving organizing, because I could spend all day thinking about how we should organize the folder structure here. Start button.tsx, and it's going to be pretty similar to the taskbar. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to have a styled start button that we'll call there, and that will be what's wrapped here. And for now, that's good enough. I guess the styled start button, inside it could be the icon that will be the Windows logo in this case, but for now we'll just make it an X because we're cool. And it could be a different icon. I know that was the thing I used to do as a kid with Windows 98, was like modify some kind of exe or DLL. I think Explorer.exe, and I could change the icon and the start button. That was one of the first getting into UI hacking type stuff that I enjoyed. So this is the styled start button, and we have to call it start button here, start button there. There we go. So that's another one, very mocked up and simple. Probably doesn't need to be on a new line. So we need a styled start button as well. Put that in the same place, styled start button. And what attributes do we know about the styled start button? Well, we probably know its boxy nature, that it's a square. I actually don't remember right now if it is perfect square. Again, we'll get into the exact dimensions of stuff later. What can we say about it position wise? Well, it's already going to be locked into the taskbar, so it's already going to be at the bottom. The start button is to the left. We could still have it be positioned, but in this case we position absolute. So it's absolutely positioned, but within its container, basically. It's not fixed anywhere in the screen. So left, yes. Bottom, yes. Right, no. Will it have the same height? Probably, to the point where we don't even need to define it, I guess. Because, no, it'll inherit it. Maybe we just say 100%. 100% of the container. Yeah, the start button should take up 100% of the container. And in this case, the width is what we care about. And to make it boxy, like I said, for now, if the height of the taskbar is 30, then we'll say the width of the start button is 30. And this might be something where we could share this variable, perhaps. If we know the start button is going to be boxy, we could say the start button's width is the taskbar's height, you know? And then that's kind of a self-commenting way to know, oh, okay, they're the same dimensions. But we might also not want that because like the theme, it gives us less theme control. It's almost something better to do in the theme. Like, you know, within the theme, we could have that variable that's self-referential, another aspect of itself. We might do it that way, but none of this has been thought out, FYI. So there's our styled start button. Do we want to have a different color for it? Sure. Let's use word colors because I prefer that. Black. That one's red. This is blue. No, let's say orange. Yeah. So now the taskbar is orange. The start button's red, but we haven't put it there yet. All these other settings are good. Now we got its width. It's positioned absolutely by the left and bottom. Its height is 100%. Yeah, that's correct. And it has the same name, so I just had to save here. And what have I not saved? This? I haven't imported this yet. Oh, darn imports. I trust these imports too often, I guess, because they fail me. So the start button, and that's actually going to be a component. And it's in the system components, and it's your start button. Now we have our start button, and these are not organized. There we go. There we go. That looks like something, right? So you got your start button where you'd expect it. You got your taskbar. What's the next one? The next one is this thingy. Now it's the taskbar entries. Oh, wait a minute. Start button. I made a mistake. Start button style. That is not a nav. Absolutely not a nav. What is it? A button. Dun dun dun. Spoiler. So this is a good question. I don't know with styled components. This is a button, but from a accessibility point of view, you need to do a bit more when you call something a button. Let's see if ESLint caught that. Doesn't seem to have. That's a little worrying. Because if this is legitimately a button, then I think you need to do like type equals button. Because if you don't do that, the accessibility gets angry when you don't do that. I'm just surprised I didn't get a linting error about that. I don't want to prematurely do it if I don't need to. So let's remove that for now and not worry. But at some point, I'm going to get an error somewhere that's going to remind me that that's not right. So good. So now the styled start button is a styled button. That's exactly as you'd expect. What happened now? Oh, because I uncommented taskbar entries, but I haven't made it yet. Let's make taskbar entries now. We're on a roll here. Taskbar entries.tsx. Copy the start button again because it's similar. And just name some stuff different. So it's taskbar entries, styled taskbar entries. Do they need to be styled? Yeah, I guess they do, because one of the aspects of the taskbar entries is that it has a fluctuating width. So I'll say 100% of its width, but its width might change. Like, let's say if we add the sys tray, then it gets a little less width, you know? Because the clock, the start button, the sys tray, well, actually the clock and the start button will have a set width. The sys tray will also have a set width based on how many items it has. Like each item has a set width, which is its icon. But the taskbar entries, that's where fluctuation can occur. So we'll say there, taskbar entries. And in this case, nothing's inside it. Oh, I can actually, that gets tricky. So at this point, if I wanted to, I could bring in the context, the process context, and I could list the processes as the taskbar entries. The problem with that is that one of the processes right now is the taskbar. And we don't need to show that the taskbar is running as a taskbar entry on the taskbar. That's a little too inception-y, I think. So we need a way to flag processes. So I'm not going to worry about that right now, but I'm going to say processes right there. And let's get this styled taskbar entries element. Like so, and it's going to be another one of the same ones here. And let's make it purple. And it's also going to have 100% height to take up all the height there. It's also going to be right at the bottom. It's not left or right. Do we need to absolute position it? I don't really think so, honestly. I got a comment here from Daniel. Windows does this with a list of window handles per process. If empty, no entries on the taskbar. Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, because it's only it's even more than the windowed items that I want to put on there. I mean, it is and it isn't. Like, that's where I get back to Winamp isn't going to be wrapped in a window. Anyways, it's good to know. It's a good point. Yeah, I know what you mean about the handles. I remember that now. So I need to think of a way to do that, maybe a nice way. I was even thinking maybe of, I don't have a nice way to do that yet. I need to think on that one. But I'll probably show it with the way it is now, and it's fine. Back to the styled start button for a second. I'm just thinking about positioning it bottom. I don't think that's necessary, honestly. That seems silly because it's as much as the bottom as it is at the top when we're referring to absolute, because we're talking about the taskbar. So if we're saying the height's 100%, I don't think we need to say bottom. So let's not. And it's the same thing I was thinking here. We can say that the taskbar entries are positioned to absolute and that they're 100%, but again, we don't need to say it's bottom here. And the width is also 100% in this case. That's that fluctuating one, I think. So let's see what that looks like. And it's not loading. Why? Let's see. It says that's just it hating on my colors. Oh, okay. I haven't imported this, obviously. Oh, right. No auto imports for me. Let's go to the taskbar file. And we'll just take it from here. A little copy paste action. Never hurt anybody. There. And I broke this somehow. There we go. Cool. So that didn't work the way I wanted it to at all. Nice. I think the 100% width thing is what killed it. Yeah, it can't be 100% width. So if we get rid of the 100% width, does that give us yeah. Now it's shooting to the left. I think this is easy enough to solve. So we're doing absolute position. And we know the width of the start button, and we know that it is after the start button. So let's just do that. And let's say left has to be 30 pixels because the thing is 30 pixels. and alphabetize this. There we go. That's the way I wanted it to look. Now we can't see the taskbar right now because the clock is being cut off. So it might be the same thing. Well, my CSS foo, this is all improvised right now, so without giving hardcore thinking on it, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna also be explicit with the clock width. But long term, this is not the best solution, and processes needs to just be a little more fluid. But for now, let's just, well, we don't know the clock width yet. Let's just try to get the clock now, and that'll be the third element. Smack it with the flexbox hammer, says Daniel. That's a good point. Yeah, we probably will get flexbox very, very shortly with this, but I want to see if there's any value in being explicit with these aspects. So, and I also need to double check what I did in the previous code. I mostly wanted this to just be about mocking it up and just kind of showing you guys here how easily we can kind of put these components in place and how we do the styled components the way that I'm doing them. So we've added the clock here. We've uncommented that. And yeah, that's good there. The order is not right. It's complaining about the sort order again. And now we need to make the clock, which will be the last of the components we'll make here. Oh, and did I do the styled taskbar entries? Yeah, I made the same mistake here with my copy pasting. So the styled taskbar entries, as I said before, needed to be an organized list. So that needs to be an organized list element. And and actually before we get further into the clock then, we should actually finish our taskbar entries and make a taskbar entry perhaps. I mean, that assumes we're looping. Let's get to that piece last, but we need to make a comment to that because that's important. So we need the taskbar entry. That's going to be part of the loop, and that'll be another component that'll also probably have some styling, I'm assuming. It might not need styling, but it probably will. This looks cool, a little rainbow blur effect going on here. So let's make the clock. It's going to be another copy of let's say the start button this time. And the clock is going to also be styled because everything's styled. And it probably is going to need some stylings as well, probably like centering of the text and stuff, but we're not going to get too deep into the stylings today. So the styled clock, this is just the clock for it. Like so, yeah. And now let's make the styled clock. Down here, make our styled clock. And the styled clock is going to be another cool semantic element that I don't know about if you guys knew about, because it's probably not too popular. Is where are my show notes clock? Here we go. This one here. Switch to the browser here, and there's actually a semantic element called time. I don't know if you guys knew that. I didn't for the longest time, so it's not really meant to be used as a clock necessarily, but it actually can be, and it works okay, so we're probably going to use it as a clock, but we'll have to go over some little gotchas that I ran into last time in regards to server-side rendering and a clock, because I'm not sure if it was connected or not, but it really hated me using the time element because I think there's some really strict rules about how the time element works. But we're going to try to fit in those rules, so we'll get there. So let's go to our styled clock and make it. And like I said, we're going to make it a time element. And it is going to be locked on the right. It's all the way to the right. Same that it's got the height. Now the width of the clock, let's just set a width for now, and then we'll think about it later. Let's say it's 110 pixels. And the right piece needs to go below that. And it's going to be green. There we go. And there's probably a few places I'm not referencing it properly yet. Clock, I haven't exported yet. Yes, I actually have. Okay. So what part am I missing here? So I got my styled clock. That's pretty simple. Let's give it a time. Let's give it this time, 11, 17, and 22 seconds PM. It's going to be that format because that's the format I use on my personal computer. So clock is done for now. We're going to do a lot of stuff to this later, but this is just a basic time element. The styled clock is done. Here's our time. It's complaining about the word color, but that's okay. This part's good. So now that we know this 110, let's also fix this and say that this is to the right by 110 pixels. So the taskbar entries is kind of being pushed 110 pixels to the right and 34 to the left. And let's just refresh the page because it's probably not even broken. Okay, it actually legitimately is broken. Let's read what it is. I probably have an imported clock in the taskbar, I would bet, which is in right here. I did, but I somehow did it wrong, I guess. Components, system, clock. Did I not put it there? Components, system, clock. And I exported clock. Huh. I'm missing something obvious as always, but let's, oh, it's in styles. How did I must have copied the styled part here. So just get rid of styles. And then sort the order here. There we go. That's one tricky thing of having the same structure is it can get a bit confusing. So there we go. So 110 pixels is probably too big for the clock. Let's just fix that right now. Let's say it's 80 pixels. And until we have these theme pieces connecting each other, we have to change it in several places. Oh, it actually wasn't too big. What about 90 pixels? And from here as well. There we go, 90 is perfect. So there we go. So we have our taskbar, and if we inspect it, I'll just tell you what the elements are here. So this part that it's highlighting there, now I'm highlighting the main. You see when like this is all blue up there, like when I highlight, you see how it all goes blue. So that's the main semantic element. Then this is a nav element. Then that's a button. Then that's an OL, and then that's a time. So that OL actually goes further than I expected it to for some reason, though. As you see, it kind of covers the clock for some reason too. I don't know why it's doing that. It's, that's a problem for another day. It's probably part of the 100% width issue, is that it's not doing more than 100% of the available width. But I didn't want to get too much into the CSS today, so let's not push our luck with that. It looks kind of correct partially. There's going to be a lot of tweaking to do, but essentially we've mocked up the taskbar in that we have our nav taskbar, and within it there's a button on the left. Within that there's the OL or ordered list processes. We still need to make the entry. That was one other piece I wanted to do here. Let's make the taskbar entry. Let's just put an entry in here, and we'll call it process. So this will eventually be a loop, but for now let's just say taskbar entry. And it's gonna have nothing inside it for now. Actually, would it? No, don't have anything inside it. But we would probably pass it some data, like name, let's say. Let's do that. And we'll call it process for now. Like so. Because name is probably something we'll pass to the taskbar entry. Probably like title and icon. Although no, we probably won't. We'll probably just pass some very basic stuff. So let's not even worry about that in our mocking up. Let's just focus on getting the taskbar entry done as well, because then we got every piece of it here. The taskbar entry, I'll just copy the start button yet again. And we'll call it taskbar entry, like so. Styled taskbar entry, that will also be styled. And we'll call it process for now. Copy that, oops, I didn't copy right. There we go. So a taskbar entry has a styled taskbar entry. Gotta make sure I got all these imports correct. Styled taskbar entry.ts. And it's gonna be, if this is the OL, then this will be the LI, which is the list item itself. And let's say that the list item is pink, because I don't know if I've used pink yet. I can't remember. And the width of an item entry, I think it's like 163 pixels or something. We'll get into that. For now, I'm just gonna call it 80 pixels. And it's not going to have any position information for now. We're not going to mess with that right now. And it will have the 100% height. I'm not sure if I need this 100% height. It might be inherent, actually. So I might get rid of all these 100% heights. But like I said, let's not focus too much on the CSS today. So let's import that taskbar entry. Change spelling. No. Nice suggestion, though. I'll just manually import it. Components/system/taskbar entry, and the alphabetizing, or yeah. There we go. Cool. So as you can see here, oh, this is an interesting little piece of style that I probably want to get rid of almost immediately. As you see that it's added a 1 there. Now that is the list item styling, and I might have even made a comment about that. Did I? Yeah, I did. List style. Yeah. So if we go into the browser here, this is an annoying little default. The list style by default is like numerical. for an ordered list, which makes sense, I guess. If it's ordered, organized, whatever the term is, then it could make sense to do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thing. But we don't really care about that. So what we're going to do here is list style none. And I'm happy for that to be a default, actually, for all my lists. So I'm going to put that in the global stylings, actually. I'm going to nest it in here. Does that make sense to nest it? I think so. Because I could just do this. I could just say OL like that. And then that, yeah, there you go. That got rid of the 1, at least. So let's just do that for now. And same for LI, and same for UL. Although there's no real time where I'm going to be using an unorganized list. Maybe I will, who knows. So let's add it. What's it complaining about here? The alphabetizing? Oh, put down a new line, okay. Element OP QRSTU, yeah, so it's alphabetical. So let's say all the lists should not have list styles. That's my preferred global preference. Okay, so now we have pretty much everything, I think. Let's go through. We have our clock. Oops. Let's go from the start. So in our process directory now, we're just loading the taskbar. Maybe we should get rid of hello world now. Let's keep it because it's a good test case for our window. Let's not kill the app. But it's no longer loading anymore. We don't start it. Oh, which also means our test is probably failing because our test is just focused on that. Let's leave it in here. Let's let it start. This probably, it won't accept this, or it's gonna be angry about that. Let me refresh the page now. There we go. Our hello world's back. So let's keep that there. The test will pass then. So, so we added the taskbar. We got it as dynamic. It probably doesn't make a ton of sense for it to be dynamic, to be honest, because it's another inherit one. But it's another thing it loads, so it doesn't need to be like right in the first dump. You know, the guys, they see the wallpaper, then they let the stuff load. There could be some argument though that the taskbar shouldn't be like that. It's probably a good point. I might even have another file called system processes, and then they're just directly imported because we're probably losing time with this when we know it's going to be loaded. Let's even do that. I'm not happy with it the way it is there. So let's just import the taskbar. Always taskbar. That doesn't need to be dynamic because it's not something that conditionally loads. Oops. And we'll just say that it's right there like that. And now we can sort this. Last time it removed it there. There we go. So it should still work the same. Somehow hello world disappeared from that. There we go. I don't know why hello world disappeared. So yeah, we got that. So that does not need to be dynamic. So the process, it says, hey, load the taskbar on the startup. I also, yeah, I made has window optional. That's like partially half unrelated. And if we go into the taskbar, you see that the taskbar is just a styled taskbar with these things inside it, with the start button inside it, taskbar entries inside it, and the clock inside it. And if you go to the, what's the first thing? The start button is here. It's also very simple. It's just a simple little X right there with a wrapped in a styled start button. And the styled start button is a button type. And as you can see, it's red and it's got these CSS attributes. We won't get too deep into them because half of them are probably wrong, but they were just so we could visualize this. But the thing I cared about more is mocking up the React components and getting the semantic HTML correct. Because the CSS, that's going to take work, you know? I'm not going to just in 2 minutes make this into a Windows 10 perfect taskbar. That we could spend a whole episode styling the taskbar, but we'll get deep into it. So for now, we're just mocking it out, and we're going to start making it so that it can load processes, and then we'll get the clock and stuff probably, because the clock's pretty easy, and I actually have some cool stuff for the clock I want to talk to you guys about. So anyway, there's the start button. Taskbar entries is the same story, in that it's a styled taskbar entries, and it's it has a taskbar entry within it. But this will eventually just be a loop of the processes. Maybe we should do that. I don't want to because it's just going to look ugly and it's going to disappoint you guys, honestly. But we have it mocked up enough to start. But I could go deep into that and that would just take forever. There's a styled taskbar entry, which is it's wrapped in. And the styled taskbar entry. So the entries is an OL, organized list, and the entry is an LI. So we got the semantic elements there, correct? And then we have our clock, and that is, there's the clock there with a little example. This will be live in the future, of course, and it's a styled clock, and the clock is time element. And then we're going to put a bunch of stuff on that. We need to fix the accessibility, the CSS, the et cetera, but there's our taskbar. So now we have a bit of a taskbar, and it's starting to look a little bit like something could appear here, you know? And let's just see where it's complaining. Unable to resolve styled taskbar entry. Did I not oh, I must have messed up some exports here. Let's fix all my mistakes now. So the start button, that one's correct. That one's correct. That one's wrong. This should be entries. Entries. And that one's also wrong. It should be entry. Entry. I think those are the two oversights. Maybe there were more though, because it's still complaining. Is this another one of those cut and paste? Cut, paste. Oh yeah, it's fixed. Okay, so this is where we should just run the test. I think my VS Code's been acting weird. I think there was a Windows update that messed up VS Code or something, because it's been acting weird lately. It's been freezing more often and stuff. So it built. So if it built, then it essentially worked. And yeah, all those errors are gone now, and we're exporting things properly with the right names, I believe. Let's just validate the names one more time. Clock, styled clock. Styled start button, yeah. At this mocking up phase, a little bit of this can look repetitive, and it can be easy to get lost in the wording. But I'm hoping that this makes some sense, this wording, and that it fits for what we're doing at some point. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I actually didn't do it this way, by the way. I didn't do styled components originally, is what I'm saying, with my previous project. So this is new to me doing it this way. That's why a lot of this is like, how is it going to nest inside of itself and all that? Whereas before I just used the CSS modules that are part of Next.js, but they're inadequate, honestly. I think this is just way better styled components. So we've done it. We've mocked up the taskbar. It's not really functional. It's not pretty for sure, but it's mocked up. So let's even say that. Mocked up taskbar. Let's not pretend it's not anything else than that. Just a mock. But it gets us going, right? I mean, next time or in a couple episodes, we could mock up the desktop icons, and then essentially it just looks how you'd expect it to look, almost. Except for all the ugly colors and stuff right now. So let's commit that. Mocked up the taskbar. So we did a lot, guys. We did a lot. We made the code cleaner with our refactors, and then we probably dirtied it up a bit with this taskbar. But that gives us somewhere to go next time. I think next time we're going to focus a lot more on the taskbar. Maybe we'll add the icon. We'll clean up the processes. We'll do like Daniel was saying, with some kind of handle or some way to know what should show on the taskbar and what should not show. Some sensible way. Because there might be a time where we want a system component to show in the taskbar. I don't know. It could happen, you know? So we need to put some consideration into that. And if you guys have any comments about the stream as it's gone so far, or what you liked, what you didn't like, what you think should change, please leave some comments and stuff. They're always welcome. Including what you think we should do on the next stream, because we'll talk about some stuff right now in the next minutes or two. But if you guys post some good ideas in the coming week, then we'll discuss them next week, you know? So I'm always looking forward to comments if I can get them. So what should we do in the next stream? Style the taskbar. We got a comment from Daniel. Good stream as usual. Oh, much appreciated, sir. Thank you. Did my best. It can be a bit tough, you know? I mean, it's a performance of sorts, so it's been fun. Style taskbar. I think that should be important for us for next episode. That'll be fun. It might be fun to build the clock, you know? I enjoyed building the clock last time, so it could be cool to do that. And then we get a bit of more dynamicness too. We got the wallpaper moving, we got the clock moving. So let's say build clock. That could be fun. What else? Let's say taskbar. Let's say populate taskbar with relevant entries. Relevant, whatever we decide is relevant. And I think that'll keep us pretty busy. I mean, I'm going to find a bunch of refactors probably before the next episode, so there'll be more refactorings. But yeah, I think there's a little bit to look forward to, guys. And like I said, if you want to comment and add some more stuff, it's welcome. So I think that was the stream. I hope you guys liked it. I mean, we got an animated wallpaper now. We got a taskbar. I think things are coming along. I say it every episode. It's been over a month. This is the first episode in February, but it's coming along. So If you guys have stuck around this long, I think you're dedicated. Please subscribe. I got more coming. Throw a like on the video if you liked it. Comment, please. I love comments. Anything I can work off of for the next episode. I can make it better with your input. Criticism, constructive or otherwise, is appreciated. So feel free to throw it at me. And yeah, I think we can just wrap it up there. We got to about 2.5 hours ish. My time isn't always the same reported. I think 2 hours 34 minutes actually is what it says. So I think that's a pretty decent stream. And like Daniel said, good stream. So I think we'll end on a high note and say that's it. So thank you guys. See you in the next one.